We are set to go. The winner wins the Ivy League championship. Sellers from the 4. Stopped shy of the 20-yard line. Big special teams play by Bobby Frame, number 25 for Harvard. Kelly Ryan leads the Yale offense out. 1st and 10, they begin at their own 18-yard line.
Yale is bolstered this afternoon by the return of their outstanding blocking fullback, Troy Jenkins, in front of Mike Stewart. Dean Athanasiou, the tight end, their all-time leading receiver. Tom Zuba, their leading receiver in this season. Good offensive front line. They are also helped by the return of Art Coleman, their big right tackle at 6'6½", 285 pounds.
Coleman has been bothered by a knee injury. 1st and 10, senior Kelly Ryan at quarterback. He's the Yale captain. On 1st down, the delay to Mike Stewart, number 18, running to the right. He's across the 20 and down to the 21-yard line after a gain of 3. The Harvard defense, led by Captain Kevin Dulski up front, senior, psychology major from Woodland Hills, California.
Harvard with a good front line. They pressure the quarterback well. They've allowed less than 80 yards a game rushing. The bulk of the tackles made by 45 and 90. Thabit and Mao, the linebackers. Pretty good secondary as well. Jim Smith, the sophomore, came in last week for Brian Jessic, played a Super Bowl game against Penn.
2nd down 7 from the 21. Moving in the line. Greg Williams, number 89, jumped for Harvard, but was he drawn off? That's the question. It appeared as though he was.
Greg Toney, number 68, the left guard for Yale, the guilty party.
Joe Arnone, our referee today.
We have a dead ball foul. False start against the offense.
One of the things that Harvard felt coming into this situation, just as they did last week against Penn, Sean, they wanted to be on defense first because they feel their defense can shut down Yale. They'll get good field position and have Tom Yohe do his thing with the offense.
5-yard walk-off puts Yale back at its 16-yard line. Heading into the wind here in the 1st quarter. 2nd down 12. Kelly Ryan throws, and it is caught by the tight end Dean Athanasiou at the 25-yard line. About 3 yards shy of a 1st down. That's career catch number 110 for Yale's all-time leading receiver.
Many times they like to roll away from the tight end and throw to Athanasiou. This time Kelly Ryan rolls to Dean. Basically, this was just a one-on-one play. The big tight end against the strong safety, or the adjuster as Harvard calls it, Mike Von Rudin. They get back most of the yardage. Important 3rd down on the 1st series.
Dean Athanasiou has now caught at least one pass in every game he's played on the varsity level for Yale. 29 straight games now with at least one reception. And he drops that pass. Would have been a 1st down. Richard Mao in the coverage of Athanasiou, but he doesn't drop many like that.
Kelly Ryan knew there was pressure. He was getting pressure from Tom McConnell, number 60, on the play as well, and threw the ball behind Athanasiou. So the Harvard strategy pays off here. They'll get good field position for their offense.
One of Yale's few problems this season has been the punting of Todd Cowan, the sophomore from Heartland, Michigan. You see his numbers. That's the lowest per punt average in the Ivy League. Had trouble with the snap and just barely got it off. And a flag comes down. They ran into the kicker. Behringer fumbled the football at the 47. Yale thinks they have it here. Yale's going to get the football either way because they ran into the kicker, but they recover the fumble by Brian Behringer. First big play of the game on special teams for the Yale Bulldogs.
Mike Ciotti, number 54, came up with a football for Yale, and they get the first turnover. Both these teams have done a good job in the plus-minus category. More turnovers than against them. Here's a big turnover both ways. Oh, boy, that was great acting by Cowan there that he got away with. But then Brian Behringer couldn't handle the punt, and as Sean mentioned, the wind is very tricky in this bowl.
So Yale stays on offense. They have it 1st and 10 at the Harvard 48. High formation, the handoff to Stewart. The tailback, he gets very little, perhaps a yard to the 47-yard line. Kevin Dulski in on the tackle, number 96.
Kevin Dulski, who yesterday was named a District 1 Academic All-American, number 96, the captain of the Harvard Crimson, has really come on in recent weeks. He has battled injuries through most of his career, but he has been very tough defensively for Harvard, I'd say the last month.
No score, 12:45 remaining in the 1st quarter. Kelly Ryan, the quarterback, ranked 7th in all of Division I AA in passing efficiency. And a timeout called by Yale as Ryan was confused as he came up to the line of scrimmage.
Kelly Ryan will go talk to Carm Koza as we continue a tradition we have done each week here on PBS as we have brought you Ivy League football, and we thought it most appropriate to talk about the very fine people who have attended all of the institutions, Harvard and Yale in particular here this afternoon, because first and foremost, these schools are tremendous academic institutions. And as these two teams have demonstrated throughout this 1987 football season, they're pretty successful when it comes to playing the game that many people say really got going here on the Yale University campus under the guidance of Walter Camp. There's Joe Restig, the winningest coach in Harvard history. Joe has never won 8 games in a season at Harvard. He is 7-2. An Ivy League championship would give him that 8th victory. Carm Koza, he didn't know what to expect out of his ball club in preseason, other than he thought Kelly Ryan would have a big year. He and all of the Bulldogs have had a great season.
After the timeout, 2nd down and 9 for the Eli's of Yale at the Harvard 47. The handoff to Stewart coming around. He pulls forward for 2 to the 45-yard line. Tom McConnell made the tackle, the junior nose guard from Crown Point, Indiana, number 60, an economics major at Harvard.
Interesting early on with that type of play, Yale using a counter. That is not something that they do too often. They are saying, in a sense, here in the early going, they're going to have to trick up their running game a little bit to have some success against that fine Harvard running defense.
Yale taking long stretches of time in the huddle. The clock down to 6 seconds to get the play off on 3rd and 8 from the 46. Ryan under pressure, moves away from it, throws, incomplete. Intended for Athanasia at the 36-yard line, and the punting team back out for the Bulldogs.
One thing that George Clemens, the veteran defensive coordinator for the Harvard Crimson, likes to do is blitz. Here's Mike Von Rudin, a strong safety coming in, but Ryan, excellent job of shedding the pressure, threw into coverage, and Athanasia couldn't come down with it.
We have an injured Harvard player down on the field across the way, just in front of the Harvard sideline at the 40-yard line. That's Jim Smith, number 14, the sophomore from Deerfield, Massachusetts, who's playing for the injured Brian Jessic, who's lost for the season with a knee injury.
You're right, Sean. They're already short-handed at that position. Smith was the Ivy League Rookie of the Week last week in the good ball game against the Penn Quakers.
He had 12 tackles last week against Penn in his first collegiate start. Clock stopped with 11:50 left in the first quarter. No score. Harvard has not had the ball yet on offense because of the fumble. On the first punt from Todd Cowan, Brian Barringer could not hang on to the ball, and that's the wind. Gives you an idea of what the players face, and it will be interesting to see as the afternoon develops if these two primarily pass-oriented teams deviate from that a bit and stay more on the ground. So far, Yale has not had much success throwing the football.
Except in terms of the 2 passes into the wind, I didn't view that so much as a wind problem. They just didn't make the connections. It's really hard to tell unless you are down on the field. But I know from my playing experience, and I'm sure Mike Madden could say the same thing, Sean, you can't worry about the wind. You just have to try and do the things that have been successful for you up to this point. Hope that you can still do your magic even in the adverse conditions. Good to see that Jimmy Smith is up on his feet.
Might have just had the wind knocked out of him as he is walking under his own power. 4th and 8 from the 46, and the Yale punt team out for the second time. Again, it's Brian Barringer, number 80, and Don Heberly, number 20, back to receive the punt from Todd Cowan. This time a good snap. And the kick gets caught up in the wind. Bouncing back and down at the 28-yard line. That's where Harvard comes on offense for the first time today, led by quarterback Tom Yohe, the junior from Crown Point, Indiana.
Well, the wind's certainly a factor there. Todd Cowan with just a 20-yard punt on the play. Let's look at that Harvard offensive unit. Tom Yohe, the record-breaking quarterback. Tony Hines, a most pleasant surprise at tailback. Lucas, one of 3 good tight ends. Berenger is their possession receiver. Maurice Freelow, their best offensive lineman.
On first down, the handoff goes up the middle to Dave Bunning, number 23. He's out to the 32-yard line after a gain of 3. Bunning, a senior from Glen Ellen, Illinois.
The Yale defense is one that has come on as the weeks have progressed. Tony Capolino, a defensive end, an outstanding player. The linebackers, John Reese and Don Lund, the best of the group. And a good secondary, albeit a young secondary. Dave Sullivan, the free safety, is a senior. Those other 3 gentlemen, they're sophomores.
Second down 7 for Harvard. With the wind at their back here in the first quarter, they try the run again, and Tony Hines is out to the 36-yard line for a gain of 4 more. Hines, a junior from Great Falls, Montana, chemistry and physics major at Harvard. Tom Yohe on his way to setting just about every passing record in the Harvard book. He has the single season records in passing yardage, completions, attempts, touchdowns. Those are his career numbers. Bunning goes in motion on 3rd and 3. Yohe looking for the quick hitter. It's complete to Neil Phillips. He lost the football, and it's recovered at the 40-yard line. I believe Harvard still has the football. Phillips made the first down reception, then fumbled the football. And the Crimson retained possession and gained yardage on the fumble. 1st and 10 Harvard at the Yale 41.
Brian Berenger happened to be the guy. No, it was Dave Bunning who finally came up with the football, happened to be there. This is another pretty consistent play that Harvard likes to run. That little quick slant to the inside receiver in a split set. And Dave Bunning was the guy who was the fortunate one for Harvard. They have it down at the Yale 41.
13th catch of the year for Neil Phillips. Lone setback is Bunning behind Yohe. Option left. Yohe keeps and dives forward for almost 6 yards down to the 35-yard line. Scores from around the nation in the Ivy League. Brown 6, Columbia nothing. Princeton leads Cornell 3-0. Second and third, well, actually 3rd place at stake in many of the Ivy League games. The loser of this game will go into 2nd place and into a tie with anybody out of that group. Bunning goes in motion. Movement at the left end of the line. Kent Lucas, the tight end, started downfield. And that will set Harvard back 5 yards to the 40, where they'll be faced with 2nd down and 9.
An interesting little mini story, as Joe Arnone will give you the call. The subplot that goes on, I talked about the battle between Joe Restig and Carm Cosley. You'll see the movement there by Kent Lucas. Different philosophies make it so interesting. Harvard with the multi-flex offense that does so many different things. The gambling, blitzing defense. Yale is that straight-ahead I team and a straight-ahead defense. Who wins? We'll find out.
Yohe throws, complete to Neil Phillips. He slipped and fell at the 36-yard line. Bob Stokes covered him. Gain of short yardage, perhaps 4 yards, and a 3rd down and 6 facing the Crimson.
Tom Yohe has increasingly gone to Neil Phillips as the year has progressed. He is a big target at 6'5". 1 week from today, he'll be playing basketball against St. John's for the Crimson basketball team. The big target is why Yohe likes to throw to him.
8:40 to play, first quarter, no score. Bunning moves right in behind Yohe. Yohe throws a quick hitter to Phillips. Flag comes down late in the backfield. If the play stands, it's good for a 1st down for Harvard. Joe Arnone, the referee, threw the penalty flag in the backfield, and he's calling illegal motion, I believe, on that shift by Bunning. But that was a very late flag. He saw Bunning move and didn't throw it till after the pass had been completed.
Bunning shifted up because he read blitz. Apparently he was not set for the full count he needs to be set. So that negates the Harvard 1st down and makes it a 3rd and 11 situation for Tom Yohe and company. He's got the wide side to his left. Harvard will more than likely put a double or triple set of receivers to that side. They like to roll left because Maurice Freelow, their left tackle, does such a good job of sealing the interior pursuit. number 51, Freelo.
No back offense for Harvard. Yowie with plenty of time. Going deep down the sideline, incomplete. Intended for Brian Barringer, Harvard's leading receiver. 4th and 11 upcoming for the Crimson, and the punting team coming on the field. And it was always an adventure last week for Alan Hall, the punter.
They actually sent 4 receivers to that side. Barringer doing the out and go. He had gotten behind Bobby Stokes, but the ball was just a little bit too tall, and then Dave Sullivan came over to make sure he remembered where he was.
Alan Hall had trouble with 2 snaps last week. Muffed one, had one blocked. That time he got the kick off, and it's a good one. Fair catch made by Bob Shoup inside his own 10 at the 7-yard line. Poor field position for Kelly Ryan and the Yale offense as they head into the win in a scoreless game. 7:55 to play in the first quarter. Let's go down to the field now and Mike Madden.
Smith, Sean. We checked in with Jimmy Smith, Sean, and he just got the wind knocked out of him. As you can see, he's back in the Harvard defensive huddle right now.
Good news for his football family watching the game today. His dad, Jim, the head coach at Deerfield Academy for nearly 30 years. He sent many players on to college football. And his brother, K.C. Smith, a former All-Ivy player at Harvard, class of '85. Mike Stewart struggling to get out of the backfield and does not. He lost a yard back to the 6. Jim Bell, number 93, out of Branford, Connecticut, made the play. Branford, a suburb of New Haven. Jim Bell, like most of these Harvard players, like all of these Harvard players, wants to beat Yale as badly as anybody, but his intensity magnified by the fact that he grew up in the shadow of the Yale Bowl. Second and 10 as Stewart made it just back to the line of scrimmage. Ryan under pressure, throws, incomplete, intended for Tom Zuba, number 27, Yale's leading receiver. Zuba, a junior from Sewickley, Pennsylvania.
George Clemens and Joe Rustick and the rest of the defensive coaches for Harvard apparently have felt that Yale does not do a good job of picking up blitzes from secondary people. That's the second time they have blitzed Mike Von Rudin, their strong safety. And although he's not getting to Ryan, he is breaking down the protection, forcing Kelly to throw it too soon.
3rd and 10, 7:15 to play, first quarter, no score. Up the middle goes Kevin Bryce. Well shy of a first down. He was tackled at the 9-yard line, and the Yale punt team comes on. Harvard should get great field position out of this as Cowan is punting into a stiff breeze. The well has been dry, however, for Carm Koza since 1981 when Yale tied Dartmouth for the crown. Yale has not won an outright title since 1980. So Carm Koza trying to get back to the winning circle, where he's been more often than any other Ivy League coach. Short kick, fair catch made by Don Heberly at the 39-yard line. Great field position for Harvard as they come on offense for the second time in the game. 1st and 10 at the Yale 39.
People still coming in. They'll be close to a full house in terms of actual bodies in the place today. It was a sellout ticket-wise, but understandably in the weather conditions we are enduring today that a few people might have opted to stay home and watch it on TV instead. And if you were one of those people, we're glad to have you with us.
Tom Yowie barking signals on 1st and 10. Option right. He dives forward down to the 36. The Yale defender saying he lost the football, but the officials say Yowie did not. It's a gain of 3, 2nd and 7 upcoming.
Yale depends so much on their linebackers, Don Lund, number 40, and John Reese, number 32. Those two gentlemen have combined for 236 tackles this year.
They are the 2 leading tacklers for the Yale Bulldogs. 6 minutes to play in a scoreless first quarter. Yowie in trouble and sacked by Steve Essick, number 9, the sophomore from Santee, California, back at the 44-yard line. It's a loss of 8 on the play.
When Yale blitzes, they also like to blitz their monster back or strong safety. Steve Essick with his 3rd sack of the season. You see he came in untouched and Yowie was not able to work his way around him, and then the rest of the blue-shirted Eli's came in to throw him for the loss of about 10 almost.
Steve Essick, the standout defensive player for Yale last week in their win at Princeton. He made 9 tackles and was in on 1 assist as well. Harvard goes to the draw. Hines with running room, trying to get a first down, and he's going to come up about a yard shy at the 30-yard line. Needed to get to the 29. The draw play gained 14, but needed 15. 4th down and 1 upcoming, and it looks like Joe Restic is going to go for it here.
Tony Hines brings great speed to that Harvard backfield and has the ability to keep the feet churning under pressure. As you saw him fighting his way behind the block of John Bartholomew. The Crimson will go for it on 4th down. You've got to come away with 7 if you can, Sean, with the wind to your back. I don't think the field goal is what you want to shoot for here, and it would be a long one anyway.
4th and 1, they're going for it. Just 3 seconds left on the clock to get the play off. They do get it off. Hines trying to get outside. Has the first down. He went out of bounds at the 27-yard line. 1st and 10 Harvard as Hines picks up 3 on 4th and 1.
Flirting with disaster on the huddle clock as it was down to the final second. Tony Hines going left. When Harvard needs big yardage, they go left behind Ben Stevens, number 77 at left guard, and Maurice Freelow, number 51 at left tackle. Good block on the corner by Dave Bunning, the fullback.
No score, 4.5 minutes to play, first quarter. Hines coming around, doesn't get out of the backfield. Tony Capolino, number 51, made the play, the senior from New Hyde Park, New York.
Tony Capolino is the leading sacker on that Yale defense. We've been talking about the great Harvard defense and the Yale defense not being as strong, but over the last 5 or 6 weeks, it has gotten better with each ball game. They come into this game as the number 4 defense overall in the Ivy League, but I think if you threw out the first 3 weeks, they'd probably be ranked higher than that.
I think we've been a little unfair to them in our criticism of them over the past couple of weeks. Yowie keeps and struggles down near the 27-yard line. Short yardage for Yowie, a gain of 3. And a 3rd and almost 10 facing the Harvard Crimson.
First national championship, 1890. They've been doing it against each other here in this bowl since 1914. The series goes back much further than that, of course.
Back to 1875, rather. Yowie on 3rd down. Throws, it's batted out of the air and nearly intercepted. It's ruled incomplete. John Hansberry knocked the ball down for Yale. Let's go down to Mike Madden.
Sean, something you might want to notice about the Harvard offensive players is that in a day like today, with a passing team, something that might inhibit it is the cold and the hands. And none of these Harvard players that are handling the ball are wearing gloves. That's kind of interesting because they are making gloves now that make it very, very good in cold weather in catching the ball.
Alan Hall punting with the wind, kicked it into the end zone. And the decision by Joe Restic to punt gains just 7 yards for Harvard. Instead of Yale getting the ball on a change of possession at the 27, they get it at the 20. I would have been not surprised at all had Joe decided to go for it there on 4th down.
Either run a fake punt, try the field goal, or run a play on 4th down. You're right, Sean. You had to figure it would have been very hard for Alan Hall to keep that ball out of the end zone. You saw the punt landed at the back line of the end zone. Questionable call. We'll have to see if that's a factor later on.
3:04 to play first quarter, no score. Yale 1st and 10 from its own 20. Ryan over the middle and complete to Dean Athanasia near first down yardage at the 30. It depends on the spot of the ball. Injured Harvard player down. First down, Yale.
Athanasia running a curl route right in the midst of the zone coverage of the Crimson. Jimmy Smith is a guy down again for Harvard.
Let's go down to Mike Madden again right here.
Yeah, Sean, now that you see the Yale offense on the field, you can look at their backs and receivers, and they're wearing those gloves I was talking about. They came out a couple years ago. Jim McMahon wore them in the Super Bowl, even in the Superdome against New England. But they're made out of a leather, kind of like a golf glove, except the leather is very sticky, and it almost acts like the old stickum that used to be that you used to be able to use. But now they just got the gloves, and it really helps in a cold weather day. I'm surprised that the Harvard guys aren't wearing them as well.
Mike, both you and Jack are former receivers in the Ivy League. How much more difficult is it today to play? And did you opt for stickum or gloves, Jack, during your career?
Well, I used stickum. There was no prohibition on the stickum then. I was like Fred Bolitnikoff. I put it everywhere I could put it on myself. But I never wore the gloves. I was always a guy who felt, hey, you got to live with this, so you live with it. If they would have had those gloves then, I probably would have worn them, though.
Jim Smith, again, the injured player. How about you, Mike?
Being from California, I'm not used to that temperature dropping much below 50 degrees and having to catch a football. So I threw those gloves on. I mean, the sun went down. I had them things on.
Jim Smith coming off a great performance, 12 tackles last week against Penn. He's been shaken up twice already here today.
Have another pretty good sophomore, Bobby Frame, who comes in and replaces him. It's amazing. Both these teams have some great sophomore defensive backs.
1st and 10, Yale at its own 30-yard line. 2:45 to play first quarter, no score. Kevin Bryce running left. Bounces off a tackle, fumble the football. Still free on the field. And I believe Yale has it back. They do. Right at the line of scrimmage, the 30. Might have been Kelly Ryan, the quarterback, who came up with the football.
Tom Aubin, number 42, has this ball. Bryce is hit from behind by Mike Von Rudin. The ball is stripped away. And Aubin had it and just couldn't get a hold of it. And it was Bryce and Athanasia and Ryan who formed the triumvirate of Eli's around the football.
No gain, 2nd and 10. Ryan. Here comes Rudin from behind. Von Rudin knocked the ball free, and it's ruled an incomplete pass. Mike Von Rudin on the blitz. Hit Ryan from behind, but they ruled an incomplete forward pass, and 3rd down upcoming for Yale.
Good call by Joe Arnone. Again, Harvard going with the strong safety blitz. They're so concerned about Dulski, number 96, that Von Rudin is able to come in untouched. Interesting deployment of his personnel by veteran defensive coordinator George Clemens. It certainly has been effective. Yale has just 1 first down with 1:51 to play here in the first period.
The breeze gusting up to 40 miles an hour. Ryan got it off to Troy Jenkins, but he's smacked by Aubin for a big loss. Back to the 24-yard line. A loss of 6 on the play. 4th and 16 upcoming for Yale when the punting team comes back out.
You think it's easy being a quarterback? Watch Kelly Ryan as Richard Mao, a blitzing linebacker, is right in his face. And down he goes. Wasn't any better for Troy Jenkins as he got popped by Aubin as soon as he caught the ball.
Todd Cowan is at a busy first quarter. No rush by the Crimson. Good kick into the wind by Cowan. Heberly from his 44. Losing ground. And loses 3 on the return back to the 41-yard line. Richard Huff made the tackle on special teams for Yale. There's Handsome Dan. And speaking of Handsome Dan, a vague resemblance to Mike Madden. We get down to Mike again.
Thank you very much, Sean. I don't know what to say. I got a report on Jimmy Smith. This time it's a little more serious than the wind getting knocked out of him. He injured his shoulder. They think it might be dislocated. They're not sure, and as of yet, he probably won't play this half, and they're not sure as far as the rest of the game's concerned.
Thank you, Handsome Mike. 1:03 left first quarter. Dave Bunning off left tackle and out to the 46-yard line for a gain of 5 on first down.
Harvard has enjoyed the field position and the wind, but that's going to change in the next 50 seconds. They will start to move into the breeze in the second quarter. You know, many times, though, Sean, I felt that when the wind was behind you and it's this strong, it's actually more of a problem than going into the wind because the quarterback has to try and decide how much touch he can put on the ball.
2 seconds left on the huddle clock as they pitch it to Hines. Hines across midfield. He has a first down in Yale territory at the 46-yard line, and that will likely be the final play of the first quarter, unless Harvard decides to hurry up and try to get another play off with the wind. You see 18 seconds remaining in the quarter, and they may well get one more play off as the clock stopped to move the chains. Harvard came in at 7-2 overall as you look at the injured Jim Smith on the sidelines. The Crimson 5-1 in league play, their only loss in the Ivy League, that heartbreaker at Cornell back on October 10th when they led by 4 points with less than 3 minutes to go and had the football and wound up losing by 12. We're at the end of the first quarter here at the game at the Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut, and our score is Harvard 0 and Yale 0.
We flop sides, and it's an easy task out near midfield, and you look at some of the big crowd on hand. We continue our salute to both schools' alumni. I think it's a real credit to the fans of the game, and we ought to put in quotations the fans as much as we do the game here, because to have this kind of turnout, don't let the sun fool you, folks, under this type of weather is, I think, a real tribute to all these folks. There is certainly better than 50,000 here, probably upwards of 60. The bowl holds 70.
Jack, it's freezing. That's the only way to describe it. It is just freezing cold here today. Wind chill factor 10 below 0. Thank goodness for the sun.
Well, I was at Cleveland Stadium one year against the Browns and Raiders when it was a 60 below wind chill factor, and people were there for that one. When you love football and you love all that's involved in it, that's why you show up.
Harvard now heads into the wind in the second quarter. They have 1st and 10 at the Yale 46. Harvard's only other loss, we mentioned the league loss to Cornell. They are 5-1 in the Ivy League coming in and tied with Yale for first place. Harvard's only other loss coming outside the league against the #1 Division I AA team in the country, Holy Cross. Backfield is again vacant as Yowie rolls to the right and throws on the run, complete to Brian Barringer, just shy of a first down at the 37-yard line. That's a gain of 9 and the 48th catch of the year for the senior from West Roxbury, Massachusetts, Brian Barringer. They're working on Jim Bell on the sidelines. Let's find out more about that from Mike Madden.
Sean, that's got to be more bad news for the Harvard defense. They lost Jimmy Smith. As it turns out, he'll be out for the game. Jim Bell here, he hyperextended his left elbow. As you can see, they're working on it. They're not sure whether he'll be back, but it appears as though he's in quite a bit of pain.
As we mentioned earlier, he's a native of the New Haven area and was waiting anxiously for this game all season long. Dave Bunning appeared to get first down yardage before he was driven back. He made it to the 35, and it is a first down for the Crimson. In a scoreless game, 14:47 to play, first half. Last week against Penn, Dave Bunning rushed for 29 yards on 11 carries. He's very versatile back, also caught 3 passes for 42 yards and a touchdown. Harvard playing without Bob Glatz, who had been a starter in the backfield. Up the middle goes Bunning for 3 more down to the 32-yard line. He's a senior from Glen Ellen, Illinois, an economics major at Harvard. Earned a varsity letter in wrestling as a sophomore at Harvard. Was an all-state wrestler at Glenbard South High School in Illinois.
They like to run left, as I mentioned, because of Maurice Freelow. Freelow not only has a size advantage at 260 pounds against Jim D'Onofrio at 230 and either Chuck Bray or John Hansberry at the end spot at 205, he's also a power lifter.
Again, down to 3 seconds left on the huddle clock as they snap it. Hines outside trying to get to the first down marker, and he appeared to do it as he crossed the 25-yard line and went out of bounds. First down for Harvard, and the Crimson on the move, and they're doing it on the ground.
They have the size advantage on the offensive line. This time they go to their right and pull both offensive guards, Sean Sensky, 62, and Ben Stevens, number 77. Good block on the corner as well, and Hines knows what to do with open territory. Tony averages nearly 6 yards a carry.
He's been hot lately, if it's possible to be hot today. Over the last 4 games, Tony Hines has rushed for 450 yards, had 98 last week against Penn. Brad Bedard went in motion. Yohe looks to pass. Under pressure and sacked. Back at the 32-yard line. Jim D'Onofrio, number 97, made the play. The junior from North Merrick, New York.
We talked about the ability of Harvard to pressure the quarterback. They came in with 28 sacks as a team. Yale has 21 quarterback sacks, and they have added 2 more to that total this afternoon. The play was initially made, you saw there, by John Hansberry as he broke down the ability of Yohe to roll to his right, and D'Onofrio with the backside pursuit brought him down.
Joe Restic has won or shared 4 Ivy League titles in his 17 years at Cambridge. Second down, 17. Yohe is going to run. Essick gives chase and runs Yohe out of bounds inside the 20 at the 18-yard line. Yohe picked up 14 on that scramble.
Both quarterbacks, Tom Yohe and Kelly Ryan, have good maneuverability in the pocket. Yohe, who early in the season always wanted to throw the ball, was very hesitant about tucking it under and running, did the smart thing this time and got it ahead. Sets up a 3rd down and about 4, and they're again in 4-down territory. I think they would go for it on 4th down rather than the field goal.
Quick count. Hines running right, has the first down, and he's out of bounds near the 10-yard line. Chased out of bounds by Dave Sullivan, number 20, the senior from West Mifflin, Pennsylvania.
Another Harvard first down.
As more and more people keep coming into the Yale Bowl, you can see that Harvard is also taking advantage, Sean, of Yale's consistency. They're a team that puts most of its strength to the wide side of the field, and Harvard has chosen to run the ball to the short side of the field time and time again, and they are doing it successfully.
Harvard trying to become the team which scores first today. No score, 12:52 to play first half. Yohe has the ball and is inside the 5 and out of bounds at the 3. Good deception on the offense by Harvard.
Great misdirection here. It was the reverse option, again to the short side of the field. They fake it to Bunning, and now the option comes backside with Hines, but Yohe keeps it himself. If Brian Behringer had been able to do a little bit better job on John Hansberry, Yohe would have had a touchdown.
2nd and goal from the 3. Brad Bedard resets after going in motion. Hines, nowhere. The ball was free, say the Yale players, and the officials agree. Hines fumbled and Yale recovered. John Race, number 32, came out of the bottom of the pile with it. Harvard protesting, Tom Yohe with his helmet off, hollering at the officials. They were very slow to react to the play. It was the Yale players who came up first, indicating that there had been a fumble. Absolutely no signal from the officials.
This may have been a case of going to the well once too often as they run to the short side. That ball
Clearly
is indeed loose. And somewhere in the bottom of that pile, the Eli's with a big turnover.
They begin at their own 4-yard line. 12:37 to play first half, no score. Mike Stewart ahead for 1. Stewart is a junior academically at Yale. He's from Manchester, New Hampshire. He is a senior athletically. This will be his final football game today.
No gain on the play.
Mike Stewart trying to get to 1,000 yards, a feat not achieved by too many players in Yale history. He's going to have a big game to do it. Needs 104 yards on the day.
2nd down, 9 from the 5. 12 minutes to play first half. Troy Jenkins, the fullback, stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Tom McConnell made the play. The junior nose guard, number 60, from Crown Point, Indiana, same hometown as quarterback Tom Yohe.
Yale has been beset with poor field position throughout this first half. They are also hampered somewhat in the fact that Bob Shoup, who was a favorite target of Kelly Ryan, is at less than 100%. He damaged a thumb in practice this week.
Shoup has a broken left thumb. I was surprised to see him back there fielding the punt from Harvard. Ryan trying to throw out of his own end zone. Does. Too high. Intended for Rich Schulte, number 8. Crowd complains about the tight coverage on the play, but that ball was well overthrown, and Yale will punt with the wind out of its own end zone.
Frank Caprio was the guy climbing up the back of Rich Schulte, and the Yale fans thought it should have been interference. Ryan, as he likes to do, rolls one way and then looks backside. Here's what I talked about before, Sean, where many times the wind at your back is tougher than the wind in your face because that ball just sailed on Ryan.
Cowan along the back line of the end zone. 10 men up on the line for Harvard. They don't get to the punter. Heberly calls for a fair catch at the 40. And again, great field position for the Crimson. They take over 1st and 10 at the Yale 40.
Situation here, Sean, that the advantage that Harvard has been enjoying with field position can really be a psychological blow to them if they don't start taking advantage of that good field position. That sounded a little redundant, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Wanted to reinforce
Make better
the point.
use of. Yes, how's that? I'll spit it out.
Brad Bedard comes in motion on 1st and 10. Dave Bunning plunges up the middle for 5 to the 35-yard line. While we have a moment, all of us involved with the Ivy League football game of the week would like to pass along a hello to our good pal Lester Lasuk, our satellite coordinator, who is not here today. He's receiving some medical attention in New York City, but we're all thinking of him. We miss him terribly.
This doesn't seem the same without Lester
No,
here.
it doesn't, but I'm sure he's warmer wherever he is. We don't want to complain, but this is an open-air press box, Jack. Not just so the viewers at home won't think that we're any different from the fans who are out there braving it in the stands. Yowie throws on the run. It's batted down by Don Lund, number 40, and it falls incomplete. 3rd and 5 upcoming for Harvard at the Yale 35.
To this point, there has not been a major adjustment by Yale to Harvard's continued movement to the short side of their defense, other than that they have on occasion dropped off the defensive end as an extra member of the secondary.
As Jack mentioned earlier, the Yale defense has been improving throughout the season, and the graphic you saw proves that. They've been unscored upon in the first 3 quarters of each of their last 2 games. They blitz here. Harvard picks it up. Yowie goes deep down the middle, incomplete, intended for Don Gajewski, number 84, the backup tight end. He was well covered on the play, and it's 4th and 5 upcoming from the 35.
Pressure coming from the outside. Yowie does a good job of stepping up in the pocket. Gajewski expected the ball short, and he just didn't react quickly enough to the deep route. Yowie read the coverage and felt he could go deep. Gajewski didn't read it quickly enough.
Yale really scrambled to get their punt receiving team on the field. Allen Hall a punt. Low line drive. Shoup fields it at the 11. Cuts up field, broken thumb and all, and makes his way out to the 19-yard line. So on the exchange of punts, Yale gains some ground, and they begin 1st and 10 at the 19 after a 24-yard punt and an 8-yard return.
And just as I talk, Sean, Yale has got to feel better and better about their situation. They've had horrible field position. Harvard's been in their territory throughout the first half, and it's still a scoreless ball game. From Yale's perspective, they're really ahead right now.
10:19 to play. 2nd quarter, no score. Chris Troxel comes in motion for Yale. The toss to Mike Stewart. He has running room outside right and gets across the 25 and out to the 26. Chris Babbitt made the tackle, number 45 for Harvard, but not after a gain of 7.
Yale loves to run the I formation toss sweep. Get Troy Jenkins, the fullback, out in front to clear the corners. You see the Dave Kelly, the defensive coordinator for the Bulldogs, talking to his troops.
He looks like a defensive coordinator, doesn't he? I'd do what he told me to do. Troy Jenkins up the middle, near a 1st down, needed to reach the 29-yard line. Jenkins has missed the last 2 ball games with a pinched nerve in his neck. He's a senior from Canton, Ohio, and as a senior, you know he wasn't going to miss his last Harvard-Yale game, especially for the title, if he could at all help it, and he's back in the lineup today.
Carm Koza calls Jenkins, number 22, the best blocking fullback he has ever coached. And when you think back over the 23 years that Carm has been the head coach here at Yale, that's saying a great deal. But in the times that we have watched a healthy Troy Jenkins, I'm not going to disagree with Coach Koza. He can really block.
Jenkins heading for a career in urban development after he leaves Yale. 1st and 10 Yale. Just beyond the 29-yard line. On the delay, it's Mike Stewart up the middle. Hit and dropped immediately. Number 90 made the play for Harvard. Richard Mao, the linebacker, coming up to the line of scrimmage and giving Mike Stewart a solid pop after a gain of 1 to the 30.
Just when we thought the wind couldn't blow any harder, it has picked up in intensity out there. It is blowing at the back of the Yale offense, but as we talk, that's not necessarily an advantage today.
Temperature 20 degrees at game time, and the forecast was for the temperature to drop as the afternoon progressed. Bryan throws quickly, and a nice catch made out in the flat by Bob Shoop. He caught it at the 37-yard line for a gain of 7, still about 2.5 yards shy of a first down.
There's that win we've been talking about. That's at the back, that flag of the Harvard defense. Bob Shoop got the tape on that broken left thumb and made a nice grab on the near sidelines. 28th catch of the season for the senior from Oakmont, Pennsylvania.
Shoop doubles as a pitcher on the Yale baseball team. Late flag on the play and a holding call against Yale. Never even saw it.
You know what I think happened, Sean, is that the flag was thrown and the wind blew it away. Blew it right off the field.
That might have been because it didn't appear that anybody on either side had seen it. In any event, it negates the game for Yale and puts the Bulldogs back on their own 20. Still second down. And down to 8 minutes to play in a scoreless first half. Bryan throws, complete for a very short gain out on the flat to the 23-yard line for a gain of 3. Tom Zuba made the catch. The leading receiver for Yale. Came into the game with 42 catches. That was 9 shy of the single season reception record for Yale University. 51 catches by Kurt Grieve in 1981. Third down, long yardage. 18 yards to go for Kelly Ryan and the Bulldogs. They try the quick hitter to Shoop, and it won't pay off for a first down. They gain 5 more out to the 28. Still 12 yards shy of a first down. And the punting team back on for Yale.
Ryan recognized the outside blitz again and threw to the hot receiver on that side, but Harvard rotated its secondary up quickly, and they couldn't get much yardage out of the play.
Everly and Barringer back to receive the punt.
Everly and Barringer back for Harvard.
High snap, Cowan brings it down. Nearly had it blocked by McConnell. A good kick fielded by Heverly at the 36. He stopped at the 44-yard line. That's where Harvard takes over. 1st and 10. Again, excellent field position for the Harvard Crimson.
Take a look on the scoreboard at some scores elsewhere around the Ivy League. Brown and Columbia as the Lions hanging in there. The first quarter, no update yet on that Princeton-Cornell game down in New Jersey. And Penn trying to end the season with a victory. Penn State leading number 7 Notre Dame at home, and Michigan doing likewise to Ohio State in Ann Arbor.
1st and 10 from the 44-yard line. Brad Bedard in motion. Now he sets at the right end of the line. Running up the middle, blasting through, and he's out to midfield. Gain of 6 on first down for Dave Bunning. We saw the Columbia score, Jack. Glad to hear during the week that Larry McElreavy, the head coach at Columbia, has been rewarded with a 2-year contract extension. He'll be the head coach of the Lions, at least through the 1990 season, and he deserves it. They haven't won a game yet under Larry McElreavy, but their freshman team was undefeated, and all of the elements are in place for the Columbia team to begin winning, and winning big, I think, in the very near future. From midfield, Bunning and Hines out to the right now as they vacated the backfield. Yohe all day to throw. Now he's running out of time. Ran into his own lineman and goes down back at the 43-yard line. Jim D'Onofrio finished off Yohe. He was hampered by his own lineman, John Bartholomew, number 71, who got in the way as Yowie tried to scramble out of the pocket.
This is the third sack of the afternoon for Yale, and this is definitely a secondary sack. There was just great coverage downfield by that young Yale secondary. Yowie had no place to go, and down he went.
No score. 5:20 to play in the first half. 3rd down and 10. Actually 10.5 for Harvard. And Yowie wants a timeout.
One other factor to consider here this afternoon, Sean, we're talking about how cold it is for the people in the stands and those of us up here in the open press box. It's also difficult for the players in terms of you go out and run around a little bit, get the blood flowing, get a little bit of perspiration going. Then you head to the sidelines and have to stand around for a while. And as this game continues and the shadows lengthen here on the home side, the Yale side, you're going to have that become an even greater problem, that you just get that much colder quicker, if that's possible.
Here we are. Oh, it's nice and toasty up
yes,
here.
It's lovely. That's why I got the hood up and everything. That's
Open
it.
air, no windows, folks. We're getting a nice breeze blowing through here.
But we're hanging in there, right?
Yeah,
Bill?
we are. We're toughing it out. Have to be up to the elements.
And it certainly has been a factor in this football game. The wind more than anything else. I think if this was just a cold, sunny day, it would be fine. But the breeze certainly has affected both teams.
Yowie set to go now. Facing 3rd and 10.5 from his own 43-yard line. No score. 5:14 to play in the first half in this Ivy League title game. First time since 1974 that these two teams have met in the final day of the season to determine the outright Ivy League title. I formation, Bedard in motion. Hines running right, big yardage. He may go. Tony Hines down the sideline, all the way for a touchdown.
Joe Restic continuing his exploitation of the short side of the Yale defense with a great draw play call to the short side of the field. Yale was blitzing to the wide side. It was the perfect call.
Brian Coots on to attempt the extra point. He's a sophomore from Charlestown, West Virginia. It's good. And Harvard leads 7-0. Brian Coots, number 61, quite a story. Last summer, he had 20% of one lung removed due to cancer, but he's in the game today, and he just combined with Tony Hines to give Harvard a 7-0 lead.
They run the draw play back to the weak side, and when he was able to get around the linebacker, Don Lund, it was a foot race between Tony Hines and Dave Sullivan, the free safety, and it was just great acceleration here after taking the handoff, and a good cut back to the outside. Got a good block by Kent Lucas on Lund. That got Hines to the sidelines, and then he just outran Dave Sullivan. Tony Hines, who loves to be out hunting deer for venison at this time of the year, was glad he could hunt for the end zone on that play and come up with the first score of the afternoon.
That is his 7th touchdown of the year. He had 2 last week against Penn. It's not his longest run of the year. He had a 73-yard run for a touchdown against Dartmouth. Harvard leads 7-0. And Bruce Jacob will kick off for Harvard.
They had all the flow to the wide side where Yale had to blitz, and Hines cut it back. Just a great play.
Sellers and Bryce standing at their 15. Put this kick into the wind, a very short kick. Bouncing at the 27, it was a free ball. Sellers lost it. And Harvard recovers at the 32-yard line.
Harvard.
Reggie Sellers was fighting the wind as he tried to come up on that very short kickoff. Harvard with a big turnover looking to double their advantage. Watch Sellers. This ball like a sand wedge. And then it was knocked away from him when he was bumped into by Aaron Young.
Frank Caprio recovered for Harvard at the 32-yard line. Yowie going for the quick hitter. It's complete to Brad Bedard. He got 8 on first down to the 23-yard line.
Get another look at the fumble and the concern on the face of Carm Koza. Right there, number 42, Aaron Young bumps Reggie Sellers. The ball pops free. Frank Caprio reaches out and grabs it before it got out of bounds. And Joe Restig is saying right now to Carm Koza, either you're going to have to change your defense or we're going to keep going to the short side.
As they do again, Hines bounces off a tackler and picks up the first down at the 20-yard line. Harvard leads 7-0. They have first and 10 at the Yale 20. 4:23 to play in the first half.
Now people might say, well, why didn't everybody do that against the Yale defense? Well, it's not that those people on the short side aren't good football players. It's just that in Harvard's concept here, they feel they have got bigger bodies and better technique to that short side to take care of Yale. To this point, they're winning.
Punting, nowhere. Wrapped up right at the line of scrimmage.
Dave Bunning, the carrier that time. Mike Brown on the
Mike
stop.
Brown made the tackle, number 56, the sophomore defensive tackle from North Hollywood, California. Loss of a half yard, back to the 20 and a half. Less than 4 minutes to play now in the first half. Wind right in the face of Tom Yowie and the Harvard Crimson. They've been doing their damage on the ground. Yowie looks to throw. He does. Incomplete. Intended for Don Gajewski. Don Lund on the coverage.
Gajewski's been battling a little bit of a knee problem and is not at 100% speed-wise. What they have done by pounding and pounding and pounding with the run to that side is you get Yale's defense starting to rotate up their secondary people, Rich Huff and the safety man Dave Sullivan, and when you get them caught up in the wash of the underneath people, then you throw deep on them like they tried to do there. I also think, though, Sean, Harvard has to come wide at least once in a while to keep Yale honest to the short side.
Harvard stacks the formation to the short side. Yowie under pressure and sacked behind the line of scrimmage. Mike Brown got into the backfield originally and forced Yowie out of the pocket. Then as he moved upfield, Jim D'Onofrio finished him off.
To the Yale defense's credit, they have done an excellent job of pressuring the quarterback. Essick and Hansberry were blitzing on the play. It forced Yowie up into the pocket where D'Onofrio and Scott Woolham brought him down.
And Harvard has used another timeout here with 3:03 left in the first half and the Crimson leading 7-0.
Good low-angle view of the great turnout here this afternoon, considering the conditions at the Yale Bowl.
It is unfortunate, Jack, that we don't have ideal conditions today because these two quarterbacks are so dynamic.
I tell you what, though, Sean, it really has not been a situation of the wind or the cold affecting the quarterbacks as much as it has been great defense by both teams. Yale has done an excellent job of pressuring the quarterback.
They're lining up for a long field goal into the wind. Bruce Jacobs' longest field goal this year is 40 yards. That was against Northeastern. This one a 41-yarder into a 30-mile-an-hour breeze. But the backup quarterback, Rod McLeod, is the holder.
That's what I was just going to say. You got to think fake here. Just with the fact that Jacobs' leg is not the most powerful, I don't think he can kick it into that breeze.
They do fake. McLeod down the middle. Nearly intercepted and broken up. Dave Sullivan made the play. The pass was intended for Silas Myers in the end zone.
Good play by Dave Sullivan. I tell you what, though, if Silas Myers had run to the flag after going to the post as he was doing here, he would have been all alone. Here's the fake. McLeod drops back to throw. Myers is running a post pattern, and Sullivan, playing as the center fielder, is right there. If Myers had been able to break back to the flag, to the corner, he would have been all alone.
That was a very obvious fake situation. No way Jacob was going to be able to make one from 41 yards out into that wind. Stewart running right, up the middle now and out across the 30 to the 31-yard line. Gain of 7 on first down for Mike Stewart. Trying to become the 4th Yale back ever to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. The others, Rich Diana, who did it once, or rather twice. John Pagliaro also did it twice, and Dick Duran did it once. Another injured player down on the field. This one for Yale, and it's Greg Toney, number 68, the starting offensive left tackle who's coming off. He's a senior from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, an economics major.
Mike Morin, a junior out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, number 57, will come into the lineup in place of Toney, who looked to be all right, and I'm sure he'll be back out there if he gets a chance. He's already telling the people on the sidelines that it's not so bad. We'll try and get a report on Greg if we can.
Second down 3. The delay to Stewart. First down Yale as Stewart is out to the 37-yard line. Clock a factor now. 2:21 remaining. They stop the clock to move the chains.
Stop for Kirsten. That's good for Yale. First down at the Yale 37.
Kelly Ryan has not had much of an opportunity to work his magic here in the early going, but of course Kelly's saying, hey, it's early in the game. I don't really start being spectacular until the 3rd and 4th quarters.
He was spectacular last week as the Ivy League Player of the Week. Completed 20 of 31 against Princeton for 329 yards. Wide open Stewart. Stewart in a foot race with Dave Foreman. Stewart knocked into the end zone by Caprio. Caprio couldn't knock him out of bounds. Stewart goes all the way for a touchdown.
Kelly Ryan works the magic to the delight of all the Eli fans here in the bowl. A 63-yard touchdown pass to Mike Stewart. Again, Stewart running up the sidelines as the rest of the Yale receivers were working to the left. He threw back to Stewart on the right, and he barely stayed in bounds.
Dave Derby's extra point is good. And with 1:54 to play in the first half, the score is tied 7-7. Well, we've seen the breakaway backs on each side in action now. Tony Hines of Harvard, and that man, Mike Stewart of Yale.
Hey, it's just the beginning of the day, right? That's just the start.
Great comment. Just the beginning of the day. I love it. Kelly Ryan, I think one of the things he does so well, Sean, is the ability to look off his primary receiver. You hear so many coaches tell you, well, we can take care of that quarterback because he zeroes in on who he wants to throw to. Watch here as we'll show you from the end zone the touchdown again. Ryan is looking a little bit to his left, then straight up the field. At the last second, he turns and throws to Stewart. He had gotten Dave Foreman to slide towards the middle of the field with his eyes, and that enabled Stewart to have the sideline corridor open to him and was able to stay in bounds and score the touchdown to equal things at 7 apiece.
Be proud, guys. Be proud of who you are.
The touchdown for Mike Stewart, his 11th of the year, his 3rd touchdown reception. And that's by far his longest pass reception of the year. His previous long reception, just 18 yards. That one went 63 for a touchdown. Jim Rainey and Tim Perry back to receive the kickoff from Jonathan Gastel. They'll have to wait a moment as the wind blew the ball off the tee. Gastel, number 19, a senior from Rochester, New York. .154 left. 7-7 the score.
And Sean, now you have to think back to the opportunities that Harvard has had here in the first half of the great field position, and quite possibly they're going to go into the locker room at halftime no better off than the way they started, an even ball game.
I don't know if I like the chances of that ball staying on the tee while Gastel steps it off.
He better hurry up.
He's ready. And the kick, a good one. Fielded by Tim Perry. Had to walk the tightrope along the sideline. And Perry still on his feet. Tim Perry, what a run! Dragged down finally at the 48-yard line. He fumbled the football. Was he still in bounds? He was! Yale has the ball back at midfield.
If this was the NFL, they'd be calling for the replay official. And Kevin Dulski is over to talk to the officials. This was a remarkable run by Perry, who is the third-string quarterback for the Crimson, and a pretty fair runner, as you can see right here. Talk about picking your way through traffic. He was so tired, though, from doing all that he couldn't accelerate enough. He went down. I tell you what, the ground caused that fumble, and the ball went out of bounds before it was controlled. That was not a good call. That was a bench influence call. In front of the Yale bench, they got one.
That was two bad calls in one. Yale back on offense at midfield. Ryan, the quick hitter. Chris Troxel, first down. He lost the football. And it looks like Yale has it back at the 38 line. Good for a first down. Let's look at the kickoff return by Perry again.
Tim Perry picking his way through traffic. This is just remarkable. See if we can get a better look from this higher angle.
He's down.
And the ground caused the fumble, and of course here we cannot see the ball going out of bounds, but the low-angled replay showed us that it was.
And Jonathan Gastel, the kicker, recovered the ball. He still has it. First and 10 Yale, under pressure. The pass was complete, but for a loss. Back to the 42-yard line. It was Mike Stewart on the receiving end, and you see the time remaining now. 1 minute to play in the first half, and we're tied at 7.
Trying to dodge a bullet here. Yale looking for the go-ahead score in the waning moments. Another blitz.
Ryan throws under pressure, complete, short of a first down. And out of bounds at the 31-yard line went Bob Shoup.
Real on coverage for Harvard.
Clock stop, 40 seconds left in the half.
Excuse me, Sean. Greg Williams putting late pressure on Kelly Ryan. But Bob Shoup, he doesn't have as many catches as Zuba this year, but Shoup and Ryan have been buddies since they played as freshmen for the Bullpups, and he's the guy he really looks to in the clutch. Shoup had the remarkable touchdown effort in the come-from-behind victory against Penn earlier in the season.
On third down, Ryan with the short drop, throws, complete for a first down to the 22-yard line. Dean Athanasia on the receiving end, the big tight end, the senior from Wilmington, Massachusetts, Yale's all-time leading receiver. Yale goes with the hurry-up offense. Ryan looking to the sideline. Quick hitter, incomplete. Mike Stewart had it hit him right in the numbers, but he wasn't ready for it. Let's go quickly to Mike Madden.
Yeah, Sean, concerning that fumble, I was sitting here on the Yale bench, and it happened right in front of me. Now, I don't know if he was down or not when he did fumble, but the ball was in bounds when the Yale guy recovered it.
Well, Mike, if you had the opportunity to look at our replay, I'm not so sure you'd agree. But we'll take your eyewitness account point of view into consideration.
Thanks.
Second and 10. 26 seconds left in the half. The score tied at 7. Ryan for Zuba. Incomplete. Good coverage on the play by Don Heberly, the senior from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania.
Don Heberly on the coverage for the Griffin.
Don Heberly is their most dependable defensive back. They tend not to throw his way as often because he's a little stronger than Caprio. Caprio's also done a good job the other corner, but he had excellent coverage there on Tom Zuba.
20 seconds left in the half. Third down and 10. Yale at the Harvard 23. The score tied at 7.
Yale's problem, Dave Derby's longest field goal is 28 yards.
Yale's kicking game has been horrendous for the most part of the year. Stewart's looking to throw. He's in trouble, and he goes out of bounds at the 26-yard line. They lose 3 on the play, and it brings up a 4th down and 13.
That play was misconceived from the start. Either they went the wrong way with that pitch, or the receiver wasn't there because there was nobody for Stewart to throw to.
Dave Derby and the field goal unit have come on.
Dave Derby in for Yale to attempt the field goal.
Bob Verduzco, the backup quarterback, is the holder. They'll spot it at the 33. This would be a 43-yard attempt. As Jack pointed out, his previous long this season, just 28 yards. Does it have enough? It does! Dave Derby connects from 43 yards out. The senior from Honolulu, Hawaii, about as far removed from the Hawaiian Islands as he can be here today, put his cold foot to it, kicked it through, and Yale leads 10-7 with 10 seconds left in the half.
And Dave Derby is saying, thank you very much, Mother Nature, because the strong breeze to his back helped get this line drive just over the crossbar. Watch Derby's reaction. He knows he hasn't hit many long field goals. Bob Verduzco said right from the start it was good, and Derby said, well, yeah, I do that all the time, no problem. So the Bulldogs, who look to be in trouble down 7-0, have come back on the long touchdown pass to Mike Stewart and capitalize on the fumble recovery, albeit a controversial fumble, to take their first lead of the afternoon.
John Gasnell will kick off for Yale.
Yale 10, Harvard 7. 10 seconds left in the half. Tony Hines scored first for Harvard, a 57-yard touchdown run, but then a 63-yard pass from Kelly Ryan to Mike Stewart pulled Yale even. And the field goal by Derby of 43 yards has given Carm Koza and his Eli the lead. Perry and Reedy again back deep to receive the kick. They squib it downfield. The ball booted by Harvard, and Kent Lucas falls on it at the 38-yard line. Time for one last attempt, perhaps, for Tom Yohe and Joe Restick. 7 seconds left, but they're going into a sturdy breeze. What do you do? Do you heave it up there into the wind, or do you sit on it and take your chance in the second half?
I think when it's the game, you heave it up into the wind.
Okay. They've got a formation that indicates they will not, but that doesn't mean much out of the multiflex. They do sit on it, and the two teams head for the warmth of the locker rooms at halftime.
That is a great little note.
There are some people who believe in numerology.
I know quite a few people who have various little eccentricities that they guide their lives by.
Wind blew the ball off the tee, and Bruce Jacob will re-tee it. Kevin Bryce and Reggie Sellers back to receive the kickoff. Jacob kicking into the wind. Harvard will have the wind at their backs here in the third quarter. And now they're going to have to hold it. Greg Hubert comes over to hold for Bruce Jacob. Set to go, third quarter. Sellers from the 6. Across the 25 and down at the 28-yard line. Number 27, Peter Chung, made the tackle on special teams for Harvard.
See the numbers on Kelly Ryan. The bulk of that 108 yards coming on the 63-yard touchdown toss to Mike Stewart. We had a penalty on the play. Offsides on the kickoff against Harvard. And now Yale will have to make the decision on whether or not to have the Crimson re-kick. I tell you what, the wind at Harvard's back, I don't think they're going to get much better field position than that, but Carm Koza says, let's find out. So they are going to accept the penalty and will kick it again.
There have been some awfully mysterious penalties in this game. Penalties called when no flags have appeared on the field. No flag came down that time as well.
Offside. Kicking team, re-kick, 5-yard penalty.
That's the wind at the back of Bruce Jacob as he sets to re-tee it.
And there have been times today when I've got to believe, Sean, the gusts have been upwards of, 30, 35 miles an hour.
They said at the start of the game the wind was blowing at 23 miles per hour with gusts up to 40. And the wind has not diminished at all as the afternoon has gone on, nor has the temperature increased. If you're just tuning in, the temperature at game time was 20 degrees, the wind chill factor 10 below zero. Most of the patrons who made their way into the Yale Bowl have remained for the second half, although it is obvious looking at the stands that some have departed for the parking lot. No flags down on this one. Sellers this time from the 17. Yale will gain an advantage on the re-kick as they'll start up close to the 35-yard line. Greg Hubert made the tackle on special teams, number 56.
First couple of sequences of the second half are, I think, crucial in a football game. Yale had the momentum at the end of the first half with the Ryan touchdown pass and then the Derby field goal after the fumble recovery. Be important to see here who can maintain, whether Harvard regains the control they had or Yale maintains it.
Kelly Ryan has now thrown for 4,046 yards in his career. Mike Stewart stays in bounds and gets out to the 41-yard line for a gain of 6 on first down.
And that's uncharacteristic of Yale. You have seen Harvard this afternoon time and time again run to the short side of the Yale defense. That's what Yale did that time. They like to go wide. They like to go to the tight end side with Mike Stewart, but they ran short side and got good yardage.
Stewart, as you saw, well shy of the 104 yards that he needs to reach 1,000 for the season. He has 30 yards on the day on 12 rushes. Second down, 4. Harvard showing blitz. Thabit and Mao up on the line. Now they drop back. Long count by Ryan. He snapped it with 1 second left on the clock. Quick hitter to Zuba. Tackled by Tom Aubin. Very close to a first down at the 44-yard line. Appeared to come up about a half-yard shy.
In these kind of weather conditions as well, Sean, I think the first couple of sequences are going to be important because both teams have been warmed up. They get recharged in the locker room at halftime, and they can come out here in the early going of the second half and feel that the weather is not a problem for them. But as they stand on the sidelines, as the game continues, the weather starts to become a factor again for them. So I think it's important even more to try and get something to happen for your team in the first 5 to 10 minutes of this second half.
Third down, less than a yard. Jenkins pulls forward for the first down as he crossed the 45. Troy Jenkins, the senior from Canton, Ohio, economics major. Had his biggest day of his career earlier this season against William & Mary when he rushed for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of yardage for primarily a blocking back.
He is from Canton McKinley High School, and they have a tremendous rivalry against Massillon, Ohio High School out there in Ohio, and that's almost as big of a high school rivalry as this game is on the collegiate level.
Stewart out to midfield and into Harvard territory at the 49-yard line. Don Peterson and Richard Mao combining on the tackle for Harvard.
That was the first time this afternoon that Yale has really had Art Coleman, their big offensive right tackle, the pre-med major out of Spring Valley, New York, able to close down on the Harvard defensive line and give Stewart some cutback ability to the right sideline, and he got some decent yardage as the wind has really started to pick up.
It is blowing things about the press box and blowing as hard as it has all day right now. Troy Jenkins hit at the line of scrimmage and plunged forward for perhaps a yard. Tom McConnell made the original play. Frank Caprio came up to help out. Tom Aubin also getting off the bottom of the pile. Tom McConnell, number 60, has been a standout defensively for Harvard today. Yale leads 10-7. Less than 12 minutes to play in the third quarter, and the Bulldogs faced with third down and about 4 at the Harvard 48.
Look for Athanasiou here in some kind of quick pass.
Quick hitter. Nice catch by Bob Shoup. Very close to a first down at the 44-yard line. It will depend on the spot. Frank Caprio was on the coverage.
Athanasiou stayed in to block, but it was a quick pattern. They did not want Harvard to blitz on them. And Bob Shoup, that's a great catch when it's 75 degrees. That was a fine catch under these conditions. And note that he is wearing gloves. Mike Madden brought up that point earlier that the Harvard skilled players were not wearing gloves. Shoup is, in part, I would imagine, to protect that thumb that he broke this week in practice.
It's amazing that he can make catches like that. He's made 2 of that variety in this game with a broken left thumb.
And it's so difficult, as you see the measurement now as they stretch the chains.
First
and
down.
Pick up the first down. It's so difficult to catch the football without having your thumb being greatly involved in it. It's almost physically impossible not to catch a ball, particularly the way Shoup has caught a couple this afternoon without an awful lot of pressure on that bad thumb.
First and 10 Yale at the Harvard 44. First possession of the second half. The Bulldogs lead 10-7 in this Ivy League championship game, the 104th meeting between Harvard and Yale. Ryan over the middle, incomplete, through the hands of Mike Stewart. Let's go down here to Mike Madden.
As you guys mentioned upstairs, I mean, the wind really has picked up. I'm still on the Yale sideline, which is the side that does not have the sun. And I don't know what it'd be like to play in this stuff, but I can tell you it's just a bear keeping warm down here. I mean, when the thing gusts, it really hits hard. It's cold.
Toughen up, you Californian you.
Run a couple of wind sprints or something, Mike. Get the blood circulate.
This is the kind of weather I think Mike's dad, John Madden, likes. This is when the tough guys come out. On 2nd and 10, Stewart bounces off a couple of tacklers and gains 3 down to the 41. Tom Aubin made the tackle. He's played very well as a reserve. Started the season deep down the depth chart. He's come on after the injury to Jim Smith.
Mike Stewart, his dad is an assistant coach and assistant athletic director at the University of Central Florida. Shows that he's got some pop along with the speed that he possesses.
Third down, 7 yards to go for Yale first down. Ryan under pressure. Threw as he got hit and came up short of Bob Shoup. It was Guy Nama, number 57, reserved left tackle, who's in for Jim Bell, who was injured in the first half. Nagahama put the pressure on Ryan.
Nagahama, another Hawaiian in the ball game. Looked like he had been pushed past the play by Coleman, but it took too long to dump, and Ryan was popped as he released the ball, and that forced the incompletion. Guys saying it wasn't that cold. It wasn't ever that cold in Hawaii.
No, it never was. Nagahama, along with Dave Foreman, both from Hawaii on the Harvard team. They were recruited by Milt Holt, former Harvard quarterback. Good punt by Cowan, and they downed it at the 12-yard line. So poor field position for Tom Yohe and the Harvard offense to begin the second half. They trail by 3, 10:18 to play, third quarter. Let's check out the scoreboard.
Wow. Columbia was a 26-point underdog going into that game. The seniors just to win a football game as a member of the Columbia team, and look at them. They were up only 3-0. They now lead 23 points. Penn running away from Dartmouth.
First and 10, Harvard. Hines across the 15, down at the 18-yard line. Hines had 104 yards rushing in the first half. Steve Essick made the goal with help from John Hansberry.
Let's see here in the second half, showing how much Harvard will continue to run to the short side of the Yale defense. And just as importantly, let's see what kind of adjustments Yale has made defensively. The short side is to Yohe's right.
Second down, a long 4. Empty backfield. Yowie goes straight back with time. Over the middle. Bunning's open. He has it for a first down out at the 38-yard line. Dave Bunning with the reception.
Dave Bunning, a most versatile player, as Sean talked about earlier in the telecast. He has been in on 7 Harvard touchdowns this year, 3 on the ground and 4 through the air. He has caught now 25 passes on the season. Doesn't have great speed, but has a knack for getting open and, more importantly, hanging on to the ball when he catches it. Got a pretty pop there from Dave Sullivan.
First and 10 Harvard, trailing 7. Nearing the 9-minute mark remaining in the third quarter. Hines off left tackle for 4 yards out to the 42. He's up to 112 yards on the day. His best this season, 152 against Dartmouth.
That was an important first down catch by Dave Bunning because it enabled Harvard now to negate the poor field position that they had been placed in. Now, even if they are forced to punt with the wind at their back, they can back Yale up deep into their territory should their drive bog down.
How about that note? Yowie, timeout. The clock was down to 1 second. Yowie saw that, and that could be very costly to the Crimson in the latter stages of the football game.
We saw both teams in the latter part of the first half forced to do some scrambling because they were down in timeouts. Yale had 1 timeout remaining as they drove for that go-ahead field goal late in the second quarter. And now Harvard has to earn a timeout with more than 8.5 to play here in period number 3. I believe it's another situation in which Harvard needs a score in this third quarter when the wind is to their back, psychologically, if nothing else. There again is a look at the new press box that is being built here at New Haven. They did a remarkable job to get as much of this done as they have for this game.
Just want to send a message, tell alumni watching around the country, please send money so they can put windows in this press box for next year.
Well, one Yale I know who was watching this afternoon, Chris Dudley, a graduate of Yale class of '87, now playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Dialed back in Cleveland, watching the game, hoping his alma mater comes up with a win the game.
Third down 6 from the 42. Yowie out in the flat, incomplete. Intended for, but that was second down and 6. They had third down on the scoreboard. Third down now upcoming for the Harvard Crimson.
Tried to run the little one-man screen out to the left side. Not a whole lot of blocking in front of Bunning. I don't know if it would have gone very far had he caught the ball, because Rich Huff, the fine sophomore cornerback for Yale, was zeroing in on Bunning when the ball hit the turf.
Harvard won last won the Ivy League football title in 1983 when they shared it with Penn. They have not won the outright title since 1975. They can do that with a day. Under pressure, throws incomplete, intended for Brian Barringer. Bob Stokes on the coverage. Steve Essick and John Hansberry putting the pressure on Tom Yowie.
Fourth down for the Crimson.
Tom Yowie sort of built his reputation with a great game in the game last year. Has been pressured very well by that Yale defense today.
As a sophomore last year against Yale, Yowie completed 8 of 6 passes for 164 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions, leading Harvard to their 24-17 win in Cambridge. Hall took a dive and he got hit, says the referee Joe Arnone, and Harvard will retain the football. Did not say whether or not he got hit. When I said take a dive, I mean he hit the turf. And it will depend on if it's a 5 or 15-yard walk-off whether Harvard will retain the football, because they are 6 yards short of a first down.
The ball is down inside the Yale 25. Joe Arnone will let us know here momentarily the distance on this penalty.
I have running into the kicker. 5 yards, 5 yards.
Running into the kicker is a 5-yard penalty. Roughing the kicker is a 15-yard penalty. Well, that was a good. Rich Huff was trying to stop, but there was no question enough contact was made to force Joe Arnone to make the call. It'll now be a 4th and 1.
And if you're Harvard, is it too early to roll the dice and go for it?
Well, Joe Restig is not going to do so. He is going to have Alan Jacob out there punting it again.
Well, if I were Harvard, then if I wasn't going to go for it, I'd decline the penalty because...
No, I think he can kick it deeper than that. That's my feeling.
Well, this is a punter who's had 2 blocked in the last 2 weeks and had another one muffed.
Good point. Joe Restig showing thin his punter, however, and figuring that Allen will be able to send it downfield. You want to try and pin Yale if you can inside their 20 because that'll change their play calling strategy.
It will be a re-kick on 4th and 1 from the 47. 8:12 to play and the clock now running in the 3rd quarter.
This would be the great time for that punt fake that UCLA pulled on Oregon this year. Snapped it to one of the short up men and everybody ran right. He waited with the ball and ran left and scored a touchdown.
Tom McConnell is the long snapper. Ball fielded it cleanly. Good kick. That's why they pay the coaches to make those decisions as Bob Shoup makes the fair catch inside the 10. And at the 8-yard line, perhaps the 9 where they'll spot it down, Yale takes over 1st and 10, leading 10-7 in the game with 8:05 left in the 3rd quarter.
Picked up 15 yards on the exchange by taking the penalty.
Good call, Coach Corrigan.
Once in a while, you know, it's that blind squirrel with the acorn theory, right?
I guess I was still a little impacted by what happened last week to Allen Hall with the 2 punt blocks against Penn.
Penn State with the upset in the making against Notre Dame, and you saw Ohio State has come back to tie Michigan.
After the 44-yard punt and no return, Yale takes over 1st and 10. Stewart bounces into the line for perhaps one, maybe just the line of scrimmage. Don Peterson, Chris Thabit combining to make the tackle.
And Yale has been forced to throw the ball when they have been able to move it. They have just not had the ground success they are accustomed to against that fine Harvard rushing defense. Imperative for Yale to get a 1st down here, or Harvard will have the ball on the change of punt on the exchange of possession in Yale territory, I would imagine.
2nd down 10, Zuba in motion. Ryan rolling right, will run out of bounds at the 12-yard line after a gain of just 2. Kelly Ryan, the only passer in Yale history to pass for more than 4,000 yards. He went over the 4,000-yard mark for his career in today's game. He has 1,200 yards passing more than any other quarterback in Yale history. John Rogan is 2nd with 2,844 yards. So he didn't break the record, he shattered it.
Accustomed to against that fine Harvard rushing defense. Imperative for Yale to get a 1st down here, or Harvard will have the ball on the change of punt on the exchange of possession in Yale territory, I would imagine.
2nd down 10, Zuba in motion. Ryan rolling right, will run out of bounds at the 12-yard line after a gain of just 2. Kelly Ryan, the only passer in Yale history to pass for more than 4,000 yards. He went over the 4,000-yard mark for his career in today's game. He has 1,200 yards passing more than any other quarterback in Yale history. John Rogan is 2nd with 2,844 yards. So he didn't break the record, he shattered it. Third and 8. Look out, Chris Thabit spills Ryan back at the 5-yard line. Thabit, the senior from Encino, California, economics major at Harvard.
They tried to run a naked bootleg, and Chris Thabit was right there. Kelly Ryan tried to sneak under the low bridge, couldn't get low enough. Good block by Jenkins, but again, the blitzing Harvard defense was able to take advantage of Yale.
Loss of 7, 4th and 15, and Todd Cowan, the sophomore, punting out of his own end zone into the wind. Look at the wind take this one back. And it bounces back in favor of Harvard to the 18-yard line. A 13-yard punt by Todd Cowan into the 40-mile-an-hour wind, and great field position for Harvard. They'll spot it at the 17, 1st and 10, Crimson trailing 10-7, 6:35 to play, third quarter.
We had speculated in several of our earlier telecasts with the Yale Bulldogs that their lack of success in their kicking game might come into play, and look at that score. Columbia trying to end their losing streak, up by 10.
Dave Bunning goes in motion. Hines stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Tony Capolino, the senior from New Hyde Park, New York, made the play.
Don't be surprised if later in the ball game now Harvard lines up in that same formation and Yowie fakes the ball to Tony Hines and continues to roll to his left, because they are really zeroing in on Hines. Wherever he is lining up, they are anticipating that he will be involved in the play, and well, he should. He's had a great afternoon.
On second down, Yowie fakes the run. Hines has it. Hines goes in for the touchdown. A 19-yard touchdown pass. Tom Yowie to Tony Hines. Second touchdown of the day for Hines, and Harvard leads 13-10 with the extra point upcoming.
Harvard goes to their mountain man, and he delivers again. The junior from Great Falls, Montana, with his second touchdown of the afternoon.
Ryan Coots to attempt the extra point. Sophomore from Charleston, West Virginia, drills it through, and the Harvard lead is 14-10 with 5:51 to play in the third quarter.
This play is actually very similar to the touchdown that Yale had. They just slipped their tailback out into the sideline, and the excellent speed of Hines, he outran Don Lund. They had cleared the area with Brian Behringer, so once Hines got beyond the linebacker, away he went. Oh, excellent camera work there, gentlemen. Feel like you're riding along with Tony Hines. We'll give you one more look at this score. Tom Yowie got some pressure, had to put this ball over the outstretched arms of John Hansberry there. Right on the money.
Bruce Jacob will kick off for Harvard.
I'll tell you, Brian Behringer, in trying to help Tony Hines right at the end of that play, he almost clipped the guy that close. Just let him go.
Drive consumed just 44 seconds, covered 17 yards in 2 plays, a 19-yard pass. Yowie to Hines. Coots kicked the extra point. Harvard 14, Yale 10, 5:51 to play. Third quarter, the Ivy League title on the line. Jacob. Good kick, drives Sellers back to the 2. Or check that, that's Buddy Zachary, number 48, on the return. And he's out across the 20 and to the 23. Zachary has been bothered by injuries for much of the season, but back there returning kicks today.
Tony Hines, junior, as we said, from Great Falls, Montana. He's a chemistry and physics major. Be back home hunting with his dad in Montana over the Thanksgiving holidays.
Let's go, D!
He hopes with the satisfaction of a win in the game if his ball club can hang on here. But with Kelly Ryan, you don't count anything as being out for Yale until the final gun.
1st and 10. Fake to Stewart. Ryan sets and throws. Lofting for Athanasia. Incomplete. Athanasia got a hand on it, and it nearly fell into the hands of Rich Schulte, who was on the ground at midfield.
I think he was throwing to Schulte. 44 seconds was all that it took for Harvard to regain the lead after putting Yale in a hole, taking advantage of Todd Cowan's inconsistency as a punter and the strong wind in his face. It finally paid off, the field position. I really think he was thrown to Schulte on the previous, and he was there.
From the 23, 2nd and 10. Ryan wide open, And Shoup makes the catch. Had he been able to keep his feet, he might have gone all the way because Don Heberly on the coverage fell down. He was the last line of defense.
Bob Shoup, as he got up, you could just imagine the look on his face. Watch as Heberly slips and falls here.
Heberly was the last man on that side of the field for Harvard.
Shoup was anticipating, because Heberly is such a good defender for the Crimson, that he wanted to protect the ball with his body and make sure he made the catch and got the first down. Had he kept his feet, who knows what he might have gotten.
It was a gain of 10 and a first down for Yale. They trail 14-10. Von Rudin wraps up Ryan and throws him down back at the 24-yard line. Second sack of the day for Mike Von Rudin, and his 5th of the season. He's a senior from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Von Rudin has been blitzing on and off throughout the afternoon from his strong safety position. Kelly Ryan tried to deke him and perhaps get him to overrun him, but Von Rudin was there for a big hit.
Von Rudin, a biology major at Harvard, a very pleasant surprise this year for the Crimson. Really hadn't played much prior to his senior year. He's one of 13 children, has 7 brothers. On second down, Ryan throws incomplete. He was under pressure. Kevin Dulski putting pressure on the Yale captain, psychology major Kelly Ryan from Springfield, Illinois.
You got to love George Clemens, the defensive coordinator for Harvard. This is his 36th year of coaching football.
Third quarter, Penn 42,
and he is as
7.
daring, as innovative as any young coach you would have in college football. He is not conservative or staying in his ways. They just announced the Columbia score here, and it's gotten the biggest cheer since the Yale touchdown and field goal.
They go to the run on third down and 18, and the Crimson stop Mike Stewart well short of a first down at the 25-yard line. Faced with fourth down and 18. Todd Cowan back to try a punt again into the wind. His last one into the wind. Traveled only 13 yards.
It's now into the fourth quarter of that Columbia Brown game. It's 16-6 Lions.
Here at the Yale Bowl, it's Harvard 14, Yale 10, 3:40 to play. Low snap. Cowan got it off. Again, the wind hangs it up. It bounces back again, and Michael Hosang downed it on special teams for Yale at the Yale 45. Again, great field position for Harvard.
And Harvard wants in this final 3:33 of the third quarter to get another score on the board. Obviously, with the magic that Kelly Ryan has displayed throughout the season for Yale, and in terms of come from behind victories, Yale has done it better than anybody in the Ivies this year. They need more than 4 points to their side to feel comfortable.
A 20-yard punt by Cowan into the wind. Hines with blocking in front of him. Gets outside. He's out of bounds after picking up. No, they're going to spot him out back at the 37-yard line, shy of a first down. He traveled significantly further down the field, but they spot him out at the 37. 2 yards shy of a first down.
We profiled the 2 quarterbacks and the 2 running backs at the beginning of the ball game. Yowie and Ryan have been basically even on this afternoon. Mike Stewart has scored the touchdown for Yale, but the better day has been for Tony Hines to this point.
He takes the toss again, running right. Now he has the first down, out of bounds near the 33.
And Harvard again has gone back to attacking the short side. What we mean by the short side of the field is most defenses, particularly an odd man front like Yale employs, will put extra people to the wider side of the field when the ball is on a hash mark because they feel there is more territory there they have to protect. Harvard is saying, we're going to run short side. We figure in our man-to-man matchup with your people on the short side, we have got a physical advantage. They have been doing that effectively for most of the ball game.
From the 33 of Yale, 1st and 10 Harvard. The Crimson lead 14-10. Brad Bedard takes the handoff and busts through. Chris Rutan, number 44, made the tackle. It's close to a first down at the 23-yard line.
Running Hines right, running Hines right, running Hines right. Now run the counter left. You get positive yardage, and that's exactly what Harvard did. Joe Restig again, using all the facets of his multi-flex offense.
Brad Bedard, a senior, as Brown has narrowed the margin at home against Columbia. Bedard, a senior from Westminster, Massachusetts, an economics major. His first collegiate start came just 2 weeks ago at Holy Cross. Performed very well against Penn, rushing for 27 yards on just 6 carries.
Some kind of problem. Tom Yohe went to one of the officials. Wrong football, I guess, or a scuffed up ball or something that Tom didn't like, so they'll do it again. 2:48 as the clock starts winding down again. However, definitely in scoring territory now. They want to put 7 on the board to give themselves a little bit of a cushion against the explosive Yale offense in the final period.
Bedard goes in motion. Yohe throws. Complete to Brad Bedard. Tackled by Rudin inside the 20 at the 17-yard line. Third reception of the season for Bedard. His previous 2 both came last week against Penn.
Lots of pressure to Yohe's backside. He gets the quick release off. Bedard, without the gloves, has to double clutch but makes the grab. It's been a good, solid ground and time-consuming drive by the Crimson as they are looking to increase their 4-point margin.
Key stat in the football game, 160 yards rushing for Harvard thus far, just 31 for Yale. On second down, Yohe looking toward the end zone, got hit as he threw it, and it comes up short of John Reese. Reese claims he picked it off, but a good call by the officials. The ball clearly hit the field.
Yohe took a heck of a pop from Tony Capolino. He was trying to go deep into the end zone to Brian Behringer. He was waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally Capolino sandwiched him along with Hansberry, and John Reese trapped the ball, as you could plainly see in the replay. Capolino and Hansberry with the quarterback sandwich. And Tony Capolino and Hansberry thought they had an interception. You can see Capolino. Oh, my.
3rd and 4. Hines hit by Mike Brown and dropped right at the line of scrimmage. Mike Brown makes the tackle, number 56, the sophomore from North Hollywood, California. That brings up 4th and 4, Jack. They're at the 18. They have a 4-point lead.
He's going to send out the field goal kicking unit, it appears.
And it's Brian Coots who will try the field goal. He had no previous varsity kicking experience until last week, when after Bruce Jacob shanked an extra point, Cotts came on, kicked the field goal, and an extra point. He's trying a 35-yarder out of the hold of Rod McLeod. Line drive, it's wide. Short and wide. And the lead remains at 4 for Joe Restig, Brian Coots, and the Harvard Crimson. 14-10 Harvard, less than a minute to play in period number 3.
There are 6 minutes remaining in that Columbia game at Providence, with the Lions trying to end their 40-game losing streak with a 4-point advantage over the Bruins of Brown.
No offense intended to John Rosenberg and his Brown Bruins, but I'm sure there are many people, we included around the country, who are hoping that Columbia does hang on and win that game. Mike Stewart back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. Chris Thabit made the tackle. Don Peterson, number 99, there as well. You would just like to see those Columbia seniors win one game before they graduate. This is their last chance after 40 consecutive losses.
It's a time remaining in which Yale has to go into the wind. They've got to feel heartened by the fact that they have again turned away Harvard deep in their own territory with no points on the board.
2nd and 10. Zuba in motion. Harvard blitzes. Ryan throws. Incomplete. Intended for Bob Shoup. Frank Caprio on the coverage. 3rd and 10 from the 20 upcoming for Yale. 9 seconds left in the third quarter.
Harvard has controlled the game statistically. They lead on the scoreboard. You see Cornell is finally on the board at Princeton. Penn cruising to a victory. But turnovers have plagued the Crimson from making it a bigger ball game. They fumbled once inside the Yale 5-yard line.
Harvard blitzes again. They run the draw and not effectively. Mike Stewart picked up 2. Harvard calls a timeout. They want Yale to punt into the wind. Great. And that's a great call and a heads-up play by the Yale or the Harvard players and coaching staff.
Outstanding from a mental point of view. I really question Yale's situation of throwing the ball on 2nd down, because if it was incomplete like it turned out to be, then the clock stopped. If you run the running play on 2nd down, you would either force Harvard to burn a timeout, and then you could kick the ball with the wind at your back. But now they're going to have to kick into the wind.
Let's bear in mind that Joe Restic has used 2 of his timeouts now here in the second half. So he has just 1 remaining, but I think that's one worth spending with the problems Cowan has had here in the third quarter kicking into the wind. 1 punt traveled 13 yards. His last effort covered just 20 yards.
You have to figure now, even if Cowan gets off a great punt, Harvard is going to get possession of the football at no worse than midfield. And even though they would be going into the wind from that point on, you're into that positive side of football territory in which you feel you've got the advantage. You can go down and get some more points. I would say with virtual certainty that if they get into a situation again, field goal wise on 4th down, they're going to go for it. They just don't have the field goal kickers to put points up on the board. And
Cowan's 10th punt of the day, again very short. This time he gets the favorable roll, and it goes out to the 46-yard line. Again, a punt of just 24 yards for Cowan, much of that on the roll. And we've reached the end of the third quarter here at the Yale Bowl. The score in this Ivy League title game, Harvard 14 and Yale 10. We'll be back in just a moment. Back live at the Yale Bowl. 15 minutes left in this Ivy League championship game. These are the future leaders of America, ladies and gentlemen. The Yale student section discarding their shirts. That's a tradition, but just because it's a tradition doesn't make it a good idea, Jack.
There are some people with some I don't even want to say.
I was going to say,
yeah,
stop right there before you get yourself in trouble.
That's right.
You're heading for Australia after the game, you lucky devil, you.
That's right. It was 77 in Sydney yesterday. I'm looking forward to that. I think after sitting in this cold today.
While we have a moment, we would like to thank Mr. Benno C. Schmidt, Jr., the president of Yale University, Donald Kagan, the director of athletics, Mark Curran, and Steve Kahn of the sports information staff at Yale for all their efforts in making this broadcast possible. We would also like to thank Mr. Derek C. Bach, the president of Harvard University, John Rudin, Jr., the director of athletics, and Frank Cicero, sports information director, for all of their generous assistance. We'd also like to thank Jennifer Fry and Andy Janfaza of the Harvard Sports Information staff for their assistance in preparing for today's game. 1st and 10 Crimson, leading by 4, 15 minutes to play. Hines hit hard just as he crossed the line of scrimmage. He got hit for about a yard. Donald Lund made the jarring tackle. He's number 40, junior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
His brother was the captain of the '86 Yale team, so the Lunds have a proud Eli tradition.
Don Lund, quite a story at Yale. Last season, he started the season 6th on the depth chart at linebacker for Yale. He wound up being 4th on the entire team in tackles with 72. Yowie on 2nd and 8. Throws nearly intercepted. John Reese knocked it down. He's had his hands on a couple of passes today.
That's incomplete.
Reese actually took an interception away from Bob Stokes. It was an excellent play by John, but Bob Stokes behind him was zeroing in on the football. Yowie has been guilty of throwing into coverage on occasion this year. You see the ball pop out of Reese's hands, and Bob Stokes was right there. He had good coverage on Brian Behringer. Yowie has thrown 12 interceptions this year.
And he's thrown 6 interceptions in his previous 4 games coming in, as opposed to just 4 touchdowns. Essick blitzing, and he hits Yowie. Yowie lost the ball. It's free at the 46-yard line. Yale thinks they've recovered, and they have. Steve Essick stripped Yowie of the football, and Tony Capolino came up with it off the bottom of the pile.
4th turnover of the afternoon for Harvard. It comes at a most inopportune time because now Yale has got field position. That's also the 4th sack of Tom Yowie this afternoon. Now let's see if Kelly Ryan can crank up the magic again for that Yale offense.
Harvard 14, Yale 10, 14-11 to play 4th quarter. Ryan throws, caught by Shoup in Harvard territory, close to a first down at the 43. He appears to have it from here. He does. 1st and 10 Yale at the Harvard 43.
Bob Shoup is another guy who I think epitomizes what's so great about Ivy League football. Bob's an excellent athlete with good ability to catch the football. He's not quite big enough or fast enough, perhaps, to be a major college 1A wide receiver, but that doesn't mean he can't play the game very, very well.
Pressure from Richard Puccio. Ryan throws, incomplete. Intended for Dean Athanasia. Puccio, the original rusher. Kevin Dulski came in to help out as well with Don Peterson.
Richard Puccio is a sophomore from North Attleboro, Massachusetts. He couldn't get to him. Dulski, who has a team record 10 sacks, couldn't quite get there in time, but they did force the incompletion. That's Tony Capolino, one of the defensive leaders for Yale, as he came up with a big fumble recovery a couple of moments ago.
Tony, a senior, hopes to attend medical school after finishing his undergraduate work here at Yale. 2nd and 10. Ryan throws, batted down by Mike Von Rudin. He's been a standout defensively for Harvard today. The pass intended for Mike Stewart.
Von Rudin hung back, just waiting there for Ryan to commit himself, and once he released the ball towards Mike Stewart, that's just great break on the ball, as they call it in the secondary. Mike Stewart, they had set out on the wing, just running a simple turnout pattern. He had beaten Mao, the linebacker, but Von Rudin breaking on the ball with a great knockdown.
Brings up 3rd and 10 for Yale. They spent a lot of time in the huddle. 6 seconds left on the huddle clock. 13:55 left 4th quarter. Ryan running out of time, throws for Shoup. Couldn't catch it. Don Heberly on the coverage down the middle.
Shoup complaining about the contact from Heberly, but that was a good no call because Shoup was not going to get to that football whether or not there was any contact.
At Providence, Rhode Island. 1:30 left in the game between Columbia and Brown, and the Lions trying to hang on and end their 40-game losing streak. Todd Cowan on to punt for the 11th time today. This time with the win. Still a shank. Horrible kick off the side of his foot. Wind and all, that might be his worst of the day. It went out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Just a 4-yard punt for Todd Cowan.
Well, you were quite prophetic. It was all the way back in the Columbia game in mid-October, Sean, that you speculated about the lack of a solid punter for Yale perhaps coming back to haunt them. They've been able to avoid it for much of the season, but it has been an important factor in this ball game today.
Sooner or later, the lack of a quality kicking game will catch up with you. It's amazing that both of these teams have gotten here without quality in the kicking area. Dave Bunning, big hole. 1st down in Yale territory at the 48-yard line. He picked up 14 on the play.
Harvard has had excellent success on the ground this afternoon, nearly 200 yards rushing on the day. They want to be able to sustain that kind of work here in the fourth quarter, because now they are trying to take time off the clock. As much as they want to put more points on the board, they want to get that down to the triple zeros.
13:15 to play, fourth quarter. Harvard leads 14-10. Bunning gets the call again, and he got ahead for about 6 more, down to the 42.
Jimmy D'Onofrio is the biggest man on the defensive line for Harvard, or for Yale, excuse me, at 230 pounds. Harvard has John Bartholomew at 245, Sean Sinsky at 245, Tony Consigli, the center, at 240, and Maurice Freelow at left tackle at 260. So they're much bigger on the line of scrimmage.
On 2nd and 5, Hines has the first down. Powerful run as he spins down to the 36-yard line.
Harvard. Richard Huff made the stop.
And you can sense, Sean, a little bit of a drop in confidence now for Yale. They had the good field position after recovering the Yowie fumble. They were not able to do anything with it. Cowan gets off the 4-yard punt. That defense went back out there saying, golly, we've been doing it all afternoon and it just hasn't been enough. And not quite the same heart they had earlier.
Those numbers tell the tale. And you saw moments ago, Yale came into the game averaging 172 yards per game rushing on the ground. Just 33 today. Hines stays in bounds, gets down to the 31-yard line. He's shy of a first down by about 5 yards. Still a quality gain on first down.
That's been another factor that has really hampered the Yale offense this afternoon, Sean. They have not been able to get positive yardage on first down. All too often today they've had 2nd and long calls, and you just can't operate effectively over the course of a football game in 2nd and long, 2nd and long, 2nd and long.
Bedard in motion. Bunning. First down, Harvard. Inside the 25 and down to the 22. John Reese made the tackle. Bob Stokes also in on the play defensively for Yale with Don Lund. Harvard chewing up the clock, gaining yardage on the ground, down to 11:32, and the clock now runs as they move the chains.
They have forced 4 Harvard turnovers. They have to do it again in this sequence.
On 1st and 10, Hines running right. Bounces off a tackle. Gets inside the 20. Down to the 19-yard line for a gain of 3 on first down.
Reese and Rudin on the stop for the Eli.
Now they are on that right hash mark. They have shown the tendency to run to the short side, which would be to their right now. Let's see if they come back with that counter to the wide side after they have gotten Yale throughout the afternoon conscious of their work to the short side.
Still a huge crowd here at the Yale Bowl despite the plunging temperatures. Now I would estimate in the teens. The wind chill has been well below 0 all day. Yowie on the option kept it and lost a yard back to the 20.
They tried to run the counter option. They faked the handoff to Bunning to the wide side of the field and tried to run the counter option. I was thinking more that they would run the fake to the short side and come back on the counter to the wide side. Now it's 3rd and almost 10, 3rd and a long 8. They bring Neil Phillips into the ball game. I'd look for him to be the primary receiver. You have Phillips as the wide guy and Bedard as the inside guy to Yowie's left.
The run, Hines bursts through a hole, dives for the first down.
Tony Hines for
What
Harvard.
a ball game for Tony Hines. He picks up the first down.
There's no MVP in this game, but I think at this point you would have little problem in selecting one. Number 47 has been sensational.
At the Yale 12.
He did not play 2 weeks ago against Holy Cross because he had a separated shoulder, showing absolutely no sign of that at all today. He's lowered the shoulder frequently to get extra yardage, as he did right there to pick up a very important first down for the Crimson. They're at the 12 of Yale, leading 14-10. Up the middle goes Bunning. He's inside the 10 and down at the 9 after a gain of 3. 9:24 and the clock running remaining here in the fourth quarter. It's the Ivy League championship game before a frozen sellout crowd here at the Yale Bowl.
3 yards, 2nd and 7.
Harvard trying to use as much of the huddle clock as they can, although they're out a little quicker this time with still 10 remaining.
Hines pulls down to the 5. He picked up 4 more yards.
Excellent block by the tight end Kent Lucas and the right tackle number 71 John Bartholomew. They have really, here in the late going, employed Yale type football, just running power off tackle.
Hines now up to 151 yards for the day. That's 1 shy of his career best set earlier this season against Dartmouth. 152 yards rushing. Big play here on 3rd down and 3. Yowie, the option, didn't get the first down. Stopped at the 3-yard line. What do you do on 4th and 1 from the 3, leading by 4 with 8 minutes to play?
They actually spotted closer to the 4, Sean, so it's a 4th and 2 situation. I still think you have to go for it, because if you miss it, Yale gets the ball on the 20-yard line, and Harvard's going to use their last timeout, and I think that's a good idea, even though you will now play the rest of the ball game without any more ability to stop the clock that way. I think you have to think long and hard about what you want to do here. But based upon their difficulties with their field goal kicking on the year, I go for it on 4th down. If you don't make it, Yale is bottled up inside their 5-yard line. If you don't make it kicking the field goal, they get it on their 20.
Through 7 o'clock.
Good point.
Boy, Tony Hines, well, I was going to say Tony Hines over 600 yards in his last 5 ball games. Mike Madden, if he is not frozen to the turf, is down on the sidelines. What do you think Harvard is going to try and do here on 4th down, Michael?
Well, Jack, there's an old football coach that sits across the dinner table from me, and I know if he were here, he'd kick the field goal, because the logic that he would employ would be that you kick the field goal, you score, now it's 17-10. A touchdown from Yale does not beat you. Okay, so now, I mean, of course, you do convert, then it takes 2 scores. So, I mean, of course, it's a double-sided coin there. But I know in Madden family coaching tradition, we would kick the field goal and force Yale and make it so a touchdown wouldn't beat us.
Yeah, except your dad doesn't have to worry about 2-point conversions in the pros.
This is true. They're going for it on 4th and 2 from the 4. Harvard leads 14-10, 7:50 to play in the Ivy League championship game. Many of the fans on their feet. Hines running right. Knocked out of bounds. Where do they spot him? Looks like they spot him out short.
He is about a foot shy of the first down. Tony Hines thought he got past that fluorescent stripe that marks it, but you can see he's actually closer to a half-yard shy. They go with the pitch to the short side, as they have done all afternoon, and Don Lund chasing, forced Hines to the outside, and then he was knocked out of bounds, and it was a good call. As you can see, his right foot was out of bounds before he got there, as he was knocked out of bounds by Jim Parsons.
Yale now on offense. Stewart up the middle. He has a first down at the 14-yard line. A gain of 12 on first down for Mike Stewart, and the frozen crowd here at the Yale Bowl coming to life.
Throughout this season of magic for Kelly Ryan, he has evoked the memories of the fictional Frank Merriwell and, of course, Brian Dowling. And he has a chance to further underline his name in Yale history.
7:15 to play. Ryan loops it for Rich Schulte. Couldn't come up with it. Triple coverage there. Richard Mao there with Don Heberly and Frank Caprio.
2nd and 10 for Yale.
If Ryan could do this, this would be remarkable. A 97-yard drive.
Jim Parsons made the big play.
Let's go.
Just a sophomore from Milford, Connecticut.
Let's go.
Connecticut beat, Yale beat Connecticut with 18 seconds left, 30-27 on a touchdown pass, Ryan to Zuba. They beat William & Mary with 23 seconds left. Stewart to Athanasia on the halfback pass as Stewart carries for about a yard out to the 15. Yale won that William & Mary game 40-34 on that 3-yard pass Stewart to Athanasia with 23 seconds to play. And the most miraculous comeback of them all here at the Yale Bowl. Against Penn, Yale pulls it out with 6 seconds to go on a 32-yard touchdown pass, Ryan to Bob Shoup to win it 28-22. What was more amazing about that game was that Penn had the ball running out the clock in Yale territory. Yale with no timeouts left. And on a 3rd down play, John Keller, the Penn quarterback, just fumbled the snap. And all Penn had to do was sit on it for one more play, and they were going to win the football game. Ryan, under pressure, throws. Jenkins, lots of running room. He has a first down out at the 34-yard line.
First time all afternoon they have thrown the football to the fullback, Troy Jenkins. Chris Thabit with an ankle tackle to keep it from being any worse for Harvard. Excellent play call by Seb Laspina, the offensive coordinator of Yale. Jenkins thought he was perhaps off to the races. Thabit with the ankle tackle.
From the 34, 1st and 10. Yale moving with the wind at its back. Jenkins carries, got nothing. Just back to the line of scrimmage. Tom McConnell made the tackle. Don Heberly also at the bottom of the pile. Yale has all 3 of its timeouts remaining. Harvard has none. Harvard has the lead, 14-10, 5:50, and the clock running remaining here in the 4th quarter. Yale looking for its first outright title since 1980. They shared it with Dartmouth in 81. Harvard looking for its first outright title since 75. They shared one with Penn in 83. Ryan under pressure, throws, and it is incomplete. Nearly intercepted by Chris Thabit at the 45-yard line.
They again went with trips, which is 3 wide receivers to the left side of Ryan. Had Athanasia in a one-on-one situation. Couldn't get trips out. A little chilly.
It's a little cold, isn't it?
Had Athanasia on the backside in a one-on-one setup, but that time Harvard was looking for it. They had deep coverage and then had Mao underneath, and Mao nearly came up with the interception.
3rd and 10, big play facing Yale.
And you have to start to think, Sean, do you go for it on 4th down?
I think with all your timeouts and with the wind at your back, you would have to punt if they don't get it here. Ryan over the middle, incomplete. Chris Thabit broke it up. Bob Shoup was the intended receiver at the 47-yard line, and Carm Koza, with 5:22 remaining and all of his timeouts still in hand, elects to punt on 4th and 10.
I think if it was anything less than the 4th and 10 situation here, you might think about going for it, but at 4th and 10 at your own 35, he probably is wise in punting it here and hope that your defense can do it one more time. They've got to stop the run of Harvard, however, to give Ryan another chance.
Chris Thabit made 2 big plays, breaking up passes on that sequence. Cowan a good punt this time. Fair catch Heberly at the 30. 35-yard punt, no return. Harvard on offense, trying to run out the clock. 5:15 remaining. Harvard 14, Yale 10.
Tom Yohe heading to the huddle. I'm sure he was told by Joe Restig, hey, keep it on the ground as much as we can. We want to try and get 2 or 3 first downs.
Hand off to Bunning. Perhaps a gain of 1, but that's all on 1st down.
Mike Brown at the bottom of the pile making the big hit for Yale. That's the first time in a while that Harvard has been stymied on 1st down. Their success has been the ability to get good yardage on 1st down. They have controlled the game statistically, but it is still anybody's game at 14-10.
Hines running right. Wants to stay in bounds and does. He's down at the 35-yard line after a gain of 3. Harvard has 3rd down and 6 upcoming. And the clock will now tick down toward the 4-minute mark. 4:20 left. Harvard 14, Yale 10. If you're just tuning in, Harvard scored first in the second quarter. A 57-yard touchdown run by Tony Hines. Yale tied it at 7 on a 63-yard touchdown pass. Ryan to Mike Stewart. Bulldogs took the lead just before the half on a 43-yard field goal by Dave Derby, but a 19-yard touchdown pass Tom Yohe to Tony Hines here in the third quarter has reclaimed the lead for the Crimson. And they pick up the first down on the pass to Brian Barringer, who's had a quiet day. That's his second catch, but a big one, as it keeps the drive alive for the Crimson at the 42-yard line.
He's their possession receiver, runs great routes on the sidelines, knows exactly where the boundary is. Got to the first down stakes about a yard or 2 beyond it. Did a little turnout. Yohe delivered it quickly. That's really a ball that cannot be defended. If the guy stays in bounds and hangs on to it, you're going to get the yardage. And they did.
Hunting. Gang tackled by Lund, Essick, and Reese. No gain on the play.
And the question for Yale now is, when do you start burning those timeouts on defense? Because Harvard is going to, I think, run on 1st and 2nd down, make sure the running plays stay inbounds, use as much of the huddle clock as they can before they snap the ball. We're already down to 3.5 minutes. Even if they don't get a first down here, Yale is going to have less than 3 minutes, maybe less than 2 minutes in which to try and get the final score.
Yohe lets the clock run down. 2 seconds on the huddle clock. 1. He didn't get it off. They'll stop the play. This does not count. The play has been blown dead at the line of scrimmage, and I think this is a bit unfair to penalize Harvard for delay of game, because the officials consumed 2 or 3 of their seconds when they respotted the football when Harvard had about 10 seconds left to get the play off. They should have stopped the 25-second clock if they were going to move the football, which they did not do.
I agree with you. The ball had moved because of the wind, yet there was no momentary stop of the huddle clock.
That's what they're going to do, disregard the flag, and that's only fair.
They had to reset the ball. Joe Arnone is going to come over and tell Carm Koza, yes, it got down to 0. See if we can hear any of this.
We're going to put some time back, but we had to stop the game, and the ball blew away. We put it back, so we're not going to get them in the middle of the delay. So I'm going to put back about 9 seconds on the clock.
That play should have started.
The Yale coaches are wrong. They're complaining, but they're wrong.
Well, they know that the ball was dead. That's just a little bit of good politicking on Carm's part to try and come up with the interception. But the whistles had clearly blown. The play was dead, and it was the correct no call by Joe Arnone.
Oh, look at that score.
Oh.
Columbia has now lost 41 in a row.
And the last 3 have been very tough for them. The heartbreaking loss to Dartmouth. They played a good game against Cornell, and then losing in the final seconds to Brown.
They're going to try to communicate with the press box and put time on the clock. Right now, the stadium clock shows 3:06 remaining. It's 2nd and 10 for Harvard at their own 42-yard line. Joe Arnone, as you see, is well off the field of play. He came into the tunnel to talk with the press box. But the officials did the right thing. It would have been unfair to penalize Harvard for not getting the playoff on time when they consumed several seconds resetting the football without stopping the 25-second clock. Joe Arnone's going to address the troops here. Apparently we're having trouble with his microphone. Thus far, they've not put any time back on the clock.
What I think they are going to do, Sean, is they're just not going to start the clock here until the ball is snapped.
2nd down 10. Hines across the 45, and that's all. 3rd and 7 upcoming for the Crimson. Now less than 3 minutes to play.
This is the play right here for Yale. They have to be able to stop Harvard as they finally know that the time is dying on them. Less than 2:50 now, down to 2:45. They've got to stop them here and then immediately stop the clock.
Yowie to throw. Incomplete. That stops the clock. Intended for Brad Bedard. Chris Rudin on the coverage. Yale will get the ball back with all 3 of its timeouts remaining. 2:32 showing on the clock, and Harvard leads 14-10. Bear in mind, Allen Hall punting into the wind. He had trouble with 2 last week against Penn. He had a punt blocked for a touchdown against Holy Cross, and there are 10 men up on the line of scrimmage for Yale. Long count by the Crimson. Hall gets it off. Short kick takes a Harvard bounce. Fielded by Schubert at the 25, and he goes down right there. Don Peterson and Bobby Frame making the tackle on special teams. 2:23 left. The miracle worker back on the field. Kelly Ryan leads out the Yale offense, trailing by 4. 14-10 with the Ivy League title on the line, and the fans all over the Yale Bowl coming to their feet.
The final score is Penn winning over Dartmouth 49-7 to close out the campaign. Princeton going to be a tough club next year with the Garrett brothers, 2 of the 3. John graduates, but Judd and Jason will be back.
Three receivers split out to the right. Ryan with time, now running out of it. Throws, incomplete. Short of Chris Troxel, the intended receiver.
Don Peterson with the good pressure by Harvard. Peterson has been a little bit quiet this afternoon, but he's been a sterling performer this season at defensive end for Harvard.
Joe Restick says he's the best defensive end that he has ever coached.
What I find ironic here, Sean, because of the magic Kelly Ryan has worked this year, it's almost like everybody is expecting it to happen again. When you do it that often, you just figure he's going to get away to get us into the end zone.
Again, 3 receivers out to the right. Jenkins, the lone setback behind Ryan. Ryan throws. Shoup is open, couldn't come up with it. Ball a little bit misthrown by Ryan. Shoup was stationary, waiting for it at the 39, and the ball was thrown to his right as he looked back at Kelly Ryan.
And you can see Kelly saying, come back for the ball. When you run a curl route, after you get open, you've got to work yourself back to the quarterback, try to cut down the distance. And as we've talked earlier in this broadcast, Sean, sometimes when the wind is at your back, it makes the ball sail on you. You can't put the same kind of touch on it that you can under calmer conditions.
Troxel brings the play in, and they're down to 10 seconds left on the clock. 3rd and 10, 2:14 to play. Harvard 14, Yale 10. From the 25, Ryan throws, caught. Bob Shoup has the first down at the 37-yard line. They'll stop the clock as they move the chains. 2:07 to play. Big day for Bob Shoup on the receiving end of Kelly Ryan passes. Now they wind the clock as the chains have been reset. 2 minutes to go in the Ivy League championship game. Ryan with time throws. Great catch by Stewart. He's out to midfield. First down, Yale.
Don't you love it? Just the way we expected it to be. The only way it really should be in this game.
First down for Yale at midfield.
Clock running. 1:40 to play. Ryan pitches it to Jenkins. He's got all kinds of room outside. Cuts it upfield, lost the football. Harvard ball at the 34-yard line. Dodd Heberly recovered Troy Jenkins' fumble.
Jenkins has that bad shoulder where he has had some nerve damage We'll have to see in the replay if he got popped in the shoulder and that forced the ball loose, or if the ball just came out with contact. Great call here. Jenkins with lots of room to run. Tom Aubin zeroing in on him, and he just punched the ball out with his helmet. It flew over the head of a couple of Yale players, and finally Don Heberly, number 20, came up with the ball.
Yale has 3 timeouts remaining. Bunning. They try to strip the ball. They cannot. Bunning got out to the 38 for a gain of nearly 5. Yale whistles for a timeout with 1:19 left.
Dave Bunning carried for Harvard.
With the score, Harvard 14 and Yale 10. We'll be back at the Yale Bowl in just a moment. The Ivy League football game of the week is made possible by a grant from Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. And by a grant from the financial professionals at Payne Weber.
And once again, for all of us here on our Ivy League Game of the Week telecast, a sincere vote of appreciation to Payne Weber and Chrysler Plymouth for all their support and enabling us to bring you these games each week. We have enjoyed showing you Ivy League football. I know I speak for Sean and Mike. It has been a lot of fun.
Certainly has been. This game certainly not over.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing.
But I want to say it has been a pleasure to work with you and Mike, our outstanding producer Chris Carmody, our director Bob Lanning, all of our production staff. We could spend the rest of the time remaining naming all the people that it's been our pleasure to be associated with today as Penn State upsets Notre Dame, ending the Fighting Irish's hopes for national championship. We've been blessed with great games as well, and this one has lived up to its advanced billing. 2nd and 6. Yowie on the option. Out to the 40. He's 4 yards shy of a first down. Yale quickly asks for a timeout with 1:13 remaining. If they can stop them again, they'd force Hall to punt into the wind again and have to handle the ball and put pressure on the protection team on the punt for Harvard.
And they would have about a minute left on the clock by the time that took place. And for Kelly Ryan, that's an eternity.
It's interesting to watch the crowd down below us. They have moved into the stairwells and into the tunnels, but nobody is leaving. They're all lined up in the exits, preparing to leave, but they know if Kelly Ryan gets the ball back again, he's capable of marching Yale down the field.
Large contingents of policemen at each goal post just to be certain that they don't come down the post game. I saw a picture in the New Haven paper this morning. They have also greased the goal post to make that a little more difficult.
Joe Restick has won just one Ivy League title outright. His teams have won or shared 4 Ivy League titles, but the only outright title for Joe Restick was in 1975, and he has never won 8 games in a season as the head coach at Harvard. He's won 7 several times. 7-2 entering today's game. Big play here. Yale has to stop them. Hines on his feet, very close to a first down out by the 44.
Depends on where they spot it. Boy, 2nd and 3rd effort by Tony Hines might be the difference in the ball game.
That would be a fitting way to wrap it up for Harvard if he did pick it up with the 2nd effort, because Tony Hines has had the best day of his collegiate career in the biggest game of his collegiate career. I don't know. From where they have spotted it, it's going to be very, very close. We would like to alert all of the public broadcasting stations on the Ivy League Network and our viewers that we will stay on the air until the conclusion of the game. The game is running long, but we will bring you the game in its entirety. Season of Ivy League football comes down to this. First down, Harvard. A giant step toward the title for Joe Restick and the Harvard Crimson.
Keep in mind, however, he still has to take the exchange from center several more times. Penn thought they had a victory against Yale with no timeouts left for the Elis. Now the clock starts moving again because Yale did not use its timeout because the clock had stopped for the measurement.
So Yale still has one remaining. They need a turnover here. Yowie falls on it. Yale asks for the clock to be stopped, and it will be one final time. With 39 seconds to go. Joe Restick, the incoming president of the American Football Coaches Association, talked at halftime about the need for quality people to lead the game of college football and college sports in particular. And he's far too modest to be speaking of himself, but I think speaking on behalf of the two of us, he's just the man for the task.
Amen.
And you have to be awfully happy for Joe Restick, who, despite his record at Harvard, comes under criticism from time to time from Harvard alumni. I guess a winning percentage of 64% isn't good enough.
I don't care if it's the biggest 1A program in the country or a 1AA, you're always going to find alumni who love the coaches, win or tie.
That's right. That might well be the final play of the Ivy League season. It will depend on when Joe Arnone starts the 25-second clock again as to whether or not they have to snap it. They will. He started the 25-second clock with 28 seconds left, so one more snap. Joe Restick will get carried off the field. The Harvard students gathering across the way will storm onto the field. Joe Restick has won his 5th Ivy League title, his 2nd outright. They count it down here at the Yale Bowl. Jack, I think back to the Cornell game, a devastating loss for Harvard. They looked like a beaten team walking off that field. They showed an awful lot of character, bouncing back from that defeat. Whopping Dartmouth the following week, 42-3, remaining unbeaten in Ivy League play. The rest of the way, they go through the league 6-1, finish the season 8-2 overall. We have to tip our cap to Joe Restick and his Crimson.
Great day for Joe Restick, George Clemens, the rest of that staff, and what an afternoon for Tony Hines. He was the difference in the ball game for Harvard.
We hope you've enjoyed this season of Ivy League football on public broadcasting coast to coast. Harvard wins the game, the 104th renewal of college sports' most storied rivalry, and in the process, the Crimson win the Ivy League football championship. Once again, the final score, Harvard 14 and Yale 10. For Jack Corrigan, Mike Madden, our entire Ivy League crew, I'm Sean McDonough. So long, everyone. The executive producer of the Ivy League football game of the week is Barry Frank. Produced by Chris Carmody. Directed by Bob Lanning. Technical director Tom Clark. This has been a presentation of Trans World International and the Ivy League Network.